manner. Now, Chief Justice Martha Koome wants the case filed by Katiba Institute seeking to compel President Uhuru Kenyatta to appoint the 41 judges thrown out. Koome, who was alongside the Judicial Service Commission, which was in an interested party, argued that the case had been overtaken by events, as President Kenyatta has since appointed 34 judges from the list forwarded to him by the commission.
Katiba Institute, in a case filed at the High Court, wanted President Uhuru Kenyatta sanctioned for failure to appoint the 41 judges. The Institute also wanted the courts to declare the judges duly appointed, since the president had failed to appoint them within the 14 days appointment window. Katiba Institute had named the President, the Attorney General and the Chief Justice as respondents, while the Judicial Service Commission and other 3 groups were enjoined as interested parties. Chief Justice Martha Koome and the Judicial Service Commission now want the case dismissed, as it has been overtaken by events. Koome and the JSC argue that the appointment of 34 judges from the list of 41 had rendered the case impotent, saying that the matter was also pending in the Court of Appeal. The Chief Justice also argues that the role of a CJ and that of a Judicial Service Commission is of functus officio, to mean that the decision on the 41 judges was final and that the ball was in President Uhuru Kenyatta's court. A Shanzi Law Court has granted homicide detectives 21 days to conclude investigations on the murder of Dutch businessman Herman Robbenhorst and his security guard Evans Bokoro. 2 suspects who were arrested on Friday will remain in police custody as investigations intensify on the alleged execution of a 55-year-old businessman over a month ago. Timothy Omondi and Mary Wekesa, the widow's alleged colleagues turned crime partners, were nabbed after the widow's confession.
To the region, Tunisia's President Kais Saied has sacked the Prime Minister Hichem Mechichi and suspended the parliament after violent mass protests nationwide in the northernmost country in Africa. The protests have been fueled by the long-standing public frustration over how the government has been handling the recent spike of the COVID-19 cases.
Clashes among rival groups continued on Monday in Tunisia following the move by President Kais Saied to sack the Prime Minister Hichem Mechichi and suspend parliament. Anger over the government's handling of a massive recent spike in COVID-19 cases has added to general unrest over the nation's economic and social turmoil. President Kais Saied, who was elected in 2019, announced he was taking over. Said's supporters erupted in celebration, but his opponents in parliament immediately accused him of staging a coup. Rival groups threw stones at each other outside the legislature, which was barricaded by troops, preventing workers from entering some government buildings. In the early hours of Monday, the Speaker of Parliament, Rached Ghannouchi, was tried to get into the legislature in Tunis, but was blocked by those who supported Said's move. The recent coronavirus surge has fueled long-standing public frustration. The health minister was sacked last week after a bungled vaccination drive. I'm Safin Aching Oma.
Off to the counties, a man was shot dead by unknown assailants in Marua area, Suitwater in Laikipia East constituency. The 40-year-old Festus Gakuyu was sprayed with bullets outside his shop by people in a vehicle who fled immediately after the incidents. Details of this in our county news roundup.
According to the residents, a car appeared at the businessman's shop where he was selling some charcoal to a lady, shot him 4 times and fled towards Nanyuki town. The man died on the spot. The motive behind his killing is still unknown.
Na mimi nataka serikali ingilie kati, wafanye uchunguzi, na especially watumie hizi CCTV ambazo ziko hapa just next to the crime scene, ili watu wa Marura waache kuwa na wasiwasi na wapate haki yao.
Meanwhile, 2 families whose children were abducted and murdered in Nairobi County by a suspected serial killer have received a total of 148,000 shillings, which is a personal contribution from county commissioners in the country. Nairobi County Commissioner Flora Moroa said the money will enable them give their children a befitting send-off. In the meantime, residents of Ihindu Trading Center in Naivasha are up in arms over an increase in the number of fatal accidents along the Nairobi-Nakuru Highway. The residents now want Kenya National Highway Authority to erect speed bumps or fly over on the busy highway, with the area recording 8 fatal accidents in the last 1 month.
Kilio chetu ni kufikisha kwa serikali kuu na serikali dogo ili tuweze kusaidiwa kuajiri. Hatuna uwezo na malilio yetu, kama ikiwezekana flyover ijengwe, kwa sababu tulikuwa tumelia, tunaweza furahia sana.
In another development, residents of Lamu and human rights activists are urging the national government to do away with the numerous roadblocks on the Lamu-Witu Garsen Road. They argue the roadblocks are creating the bad impression that Lamu is unsafe, which scares away tourists. Elsewhere, Permanent Secretary in the State Department for Broadcasting and Telecommunication, Esther Koimet, says the government is committed to promoting creativity among the youth, even as she challenged the young people to take advantage of institutions that will sharpen their skills. The PS spoke during the launch of State-of-the-Art Film Hub in Bomet County.
The government is therefore working to remove barriers to local content creation and distribution, such as exorbitant classification fees and broadcasting fees. The objective is to promote the production of local digital content and create employment for citizens.
Finally, Kiambu County Governor Dr. James Nyoro says the county is witnessing more COVID new cases than in the previous waves, saying it was high time for citizens to resort back to preventive measures issued by the government.
We are experiencing an upsurge of COVID cases, more than we ever anticipated. As we talk, we have about 134 positive COVID cases in our COVID center in Chigoni. That's probably 30 patients more than we experienced during the third wave.
On to the sporting arena, where Kenyan trio Beatrice Chepkoech, Hyvin Kigen and Purity Kirui will be eyeing to clinch Kenya's maiden gold women in the women's 3,000 meters steeplechase at the Tokyo Olympics. Elsewhere, the men's 800 meters is expected to produce fireworks at the Tokyo Olympics, with the Kenyan team ready and up to the task to hunt for glory.
Since the introduction of the women's 3,000-meter steeplechase at the Olympic Games in 2008, a Kenyan athlete is yet to win a gold medal, with Eunice Jepkorir and Hyvin Kieng coming closer, bagging silver in 2008 and 2016 respectively. Kieng insists that through teamwork, the Kenyans can indeed dominate the race.
I think I can say at the moment my shape is not bad. But now, as we are heading to Tokyo, I think now we go and work as a team to attain the best results.
Also, Michael Saruni, Emmanuel Korir and Ferguson Rutich have been tasked with continuing Kenya's dominance in the 800 meters at the Olympic Games that extends for over 2 decades. US-based Michael Saruni said he is ready to carry the Kenyan flag as he makes his debut at the Games as Kenya enters the post-Rudisha era.
Kwangu naona timu nzima iko strong na kila mmoja wetu anaweza kujishindia medali, na tunaomba Mungu atuwezeshe, atupe nguvu siku hiyo tuangane semis, hits, tufike wote finali na tutarajie mazuri.
So far so good. I would say like I'm 90%. I've not reached there where I want, but I'm healthy, no injuries, training has been going on good. I've been hitting the times I want, and I feel just good in general.
Adam Petty wrote his name into the history books once again as he powered the 100 meters breaststroke gold in Tokyo in a time of 57 minutes and 37 seconds to become the first British swimmer to defend an Olympic title. Now the world holder blew away the competition to win Britain's first gold medal in the Games. Indeed, that was 57 seconds there of breaststroke. Remember, you can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. Some of the stories we're going to be keenly focusing on is what happens in the corridors of justice, especially after that arrest and arraignment of Rigathi Gachagua yesterday there on account of graft. As well, we'll be looking at what is going to come from the visit, or rather President Uhuru Kenyatta's visit to the UK there, where he said to meet the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. That and so much more is always going to be available on our website. Let me take that again, www.kbc.co.ke. For now, it's a wrap. For me, Regina Manyara, I leave in the able hands of my colleagues. So do keep it right here.
Nissan Serena ndio hii, na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS, alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi, kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Finish your writing exercise.
I'm doing it right now, aren't I?
Do you need more work?
No. I'll continue.
Take her away.
Yes.
Mother! Mother! Don't take away my mother! Mother!
Oh, what a liar. His Majesty comes to see her every day, yet she complains she's lonely. Whatever. Your time is almost up. Let's see if you have any tricks left.
Consort Ching was poisoned by someone.
Poisoned?
Ananipenda? Yes. Ananispoil? Yes. Ananifanyia kila kitu? Yes. Everything? Yes. Can we now deal with the problem, Kate?
Huzuni kuniondokea mimi ni urongo. He is my son, Kate.
Lakini amekunywa dawa zake. Hajapewa dawa? Sasa atapona vipi?
This is where it all began. As the mother of broadcasting in Kenya, you can trust KBC to bring you authentic news and programs to your living room. As KBC, we take pride in our unrivaled heritage as Kenya's trusted national broadcaster. commanding over 92% digital television signal coverage of our country, 23 radio services that cut across our entire language spectrum, a national, regional and international digital presence backed by the most experienced and top-notch broadcast professionals in the industry.
Very good evening to you.
The new look Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is truly ahead of the pack. Turn to the mother of broadcasting in Kenya for stories that resonate with our identity, our aspirations as a people united in purpose. Real stories of hard work, of passion, of creativity, of big dreams. Stories that cement our nationhood. Stories that bring us together as one. We take pride in our shared heritage and destiny. KBC. Informing, educating and entertaining Kenyans as one nation. KBC. Kenya's listening. Kenya's watching.
It is the 27th day of July 2021. Good morning. My name is Victor Lowe. It's good to have you once again on the show. This is KBC Channel 1 and the show right now on is Good Morning Kenya. We have got so much lined up for you between now and 9:30 a.m. And with me is Jane. She's smiling on this and she's in yellow.
Drum roll.
Yellow means
I'm matching my background.
So it's like you're submerged in the background and
I'm sunshine.
Yeah, so you are lit.
Yes.
Literally.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. You are lit.
I am lit and we do trust you are lit as well. Trusting we're going to be having a lit show today. Welcome once again to the program. And my name is Jane Wambui. As always, we appreciate you for choosing to start your morning with us right here on KBC Channel 1. And we would love to know where you are watching us from this morning. Send us your greetings. Changamkia Kipindi using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle. Our individual handles ever remain to be at Victor Olo, at Dorina Range, at Rima Nyara, and at Jane Wambui. Up next is the traffic update.
So this is actually going to be our focus this Tuesday. This is actually an image of the Kisumu Chemili Mamboleo Muhoroni Road. This is what we'll be focusing on today, simply because this road was commissioned by the president in September of last year in terms of rehabilitating this road. It has been in this state for the past 20 years. Actually, that's the past 2 decades, and it's a very instrumental road. So I'll be telling you more about this particular road today, why it has been in this state for all this while, and why it was very important for the president to actually commission for the rehabilitation of this road in last year, and why it has taken a while before the construction process begins. But before I tell you more about the Muhoroni Mamboleo Chemili Road, let's just take a look at traffic flow this morning in Nairobi very quickly, how it is doing. And how about we take a look at areas around Valley Road. This is actually as you leave the city mortuary roundabout, coming all the way to the city center. Also, why we're checking this road in particular is because it is also one of those busy roads, given the fact that we still know there's an ongoing construction process on the third phase of Ngong Road, beginning from Karen all the way. So clearly right now, as you leave the city mortuary roundabout, coming all the way to the city center, this is actually just as you leave that particular roundabout, this is how it is looking like this morning. Not so bad. So it simply means if you're coming from areas around Langata, Ngong, Karen, Dagoretti, coming all the way to the city center, it's not really a bad time for you this morning, because right now, in as much as there's a bit of a traffic gridlock around the roundabout, but it's a manageable kind of traffic, hence that orange color. And at least that continues all the way past the roundabout, coming to Valley Road as you leave the roundabout, also not so bad coming to the city center. So again, it simply means as you leave areas around Valley Road as well, Hurlingham, coming all the way to the city center, it's still not a bad time for you. And if you're planning to come to the CBD, then this is clearly the best time for you to leave your houses, if at all you're coming to the city center. And also, if you're leaving CBD, perhaps your workstation is around areas around V Road or even Ngong Road, still still again is the best time for you to perhaps go to those sides, because also on that particular lane, no traffic at all, green all through, clearly meaning it's moving at a very, very swift pace. That continues all the way past the roundabout as you head over to the Agric Road, which actually is a slip road that leads you all the way to Hurlingham. Still not bad, moving at a very swift pace. The beauty is that that is actually on both lanes. So again, as you leave those areas coming to the city center, and also as you leave CBD going all the way to those areas. In fact, this continues past Valley Road as you head over to Kenyatta Avenue. Again, not so bad. Oftentimes around this particular roundabout, there's usually heavy kind of traffic, but yes, in as much as also there's a bit of a traffic, still a manageable kind of traffic. And this is why I was saying, if at all you're coming from perhaps, you know, the estates coming to the city center, it is still the best time for you to do that. And also if you're leaving the CBD rather, going all the way to areas around Valley Road, Agric Road, Ngong Road, still again is the best time for you to do that. So in as much as there's a bit of a gridlock there, at least it's a manageable kind of traffic around those areas of Valley Road as well as Ngong Road. So again, this still remains our key road of focus this morning, and I'll be telling you more about this particular route and why it has taken this while before this construction process actually begins. This is the Kisumu Chamilil Muhoroni Mamboleo Road. Be our focus this Tuesday.
All right, and straight into the headlines on what's making the headlines in our local newspapers here. And with me, I have the Standard. On the front page of the Standard newspaper, Raila backs down as Kalonzo quits NASA. Raila backs down as Kalonzo quits NASA. ODM leader cedes ground on contested political parties funding in a last-minute effort to woo his estranged partners. But this did not stop Wiper Party from joining ANC in voting to quit the alliance formed prior to the 2017 polls. That is what's making in the headlines of the Standard newspaper. And according to Raila Odinga, I quote what he said, "Our party has resolved that we share with our coalition partners ODM's share of the political parties fund attributed to the parliamentary votes for the financial year 2018, 2019 and 2020. That is what's making the headlines of the Standard newspaper. And again, still on the front page, fees warning as teachers' fears revealed. Now, TSC already investigating and will punish school heads identified by the Minister of Education for levying fees against the government's directive, even as a survey by the employer reveals 10 fears of teachers. You have to take a look on that. That's coming at the backdrop of reopening of schools, and almost 15 million students now are in class right now. Now, passionate teacher creates museum. It's a full-page story there on the on inside the Standard, and you can take a look at that story. It's an interesting article there that you can read. Now, on the story of the coalition partners, a formal exit from NASA by Wiper may lead to removal of its MPs from key parliamentary positions. But yesterday, Suna East Junet Mohammed said that even after the divorce, all the Wiper party leaders serving in different departmental committees in Parliament, or even Ford Kenya as well as ANC, will continue serving in such capacities. And ODM leader Raila Odinga has ceded ground over the contested political parties funding in a last-minute effort to woo back his estranged partners in the opposition coalition. Raila yesterday wrote to the four parties in NASA agreeing to share funds attributed to members of Parliament. Now, Raila wrote to Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi of Amani National Congress, ANC, Ford Kenyans, Moses Wetangula, and Chama cha Mashinani's Isaac Ruto. Now, that is there. It's been long coming, but according to Kalonzo Musyoka, he's still open to talks. That was according to the press statement yesterday after a 5-hour meeting with the Wiper leaders. And he said that he's still open to talks on what is happening. Now, before I go to Jen, I will give you 4 options for Kalonzo in 2022 political succession. Now, with time running out for Wiper leader, he must not miss being in the next government, or else he will have to wait until 2032 when he will be 78 years old. I will give you the 4 options now Kalonzo has with him. But before that, Jen.
A quick look at what the People Daily have for us this morning. I have a copy of the Daily Nation as well. But before we get to that, let me just run you through the front page of the People Daily. Not too busy today, starting with that particular story, or rather a story that is related to that particular one, as Raila leads a strong team to Central and the visit to Murang'a, where he will be hosted by business mogul SK Macharia, is largely seen as part of his spirited efforts to court Mount Kenya ahead of the 2022 polls. A lot is going to be happening today. We have seen Gladys Wanga has been quoted here saying that she was invited to attend the meeting and she's expected to be there by 9 a.m. today in attendance. Coming to the main story here on the front pages in regards to our teachers, as alarm has been sounded given 45% of teachers are yet to be vaccinated. Now this is a huge shortfall from the target that was put ahead of time, where they were hoping to vaccinate at least 330,000 teachers between the months of March and June, and so far I think 158,000 have been vaccinated, and we'll be getting to that story in a bit. And finally, the other story here on the front page of the Daily Nation is in regards to a report that was put out by DCI, and they have sounded the alarm on the rising number of suicide cases that have been reported. But first, looking at this particular story concerning our teachers, it has been captured here on page 4 of the People Daily, where nearly half of the country's teachers have not been vaccinated against the virus. And this is meaning not vaccinated. They haven't even gotten the first jab of the COVID-19 vaccination, and this is despite them being considered frontline workers for that matter. So 44.4% of teachers have not received the jab. Only 27.1% are fully vaccinated, and this is data that is as recent as yesterday. And the ministry said that this is a huge gap because teachers ought to have been fully vaccinated given the nature of their work. And according to the COVID-19 task force chairman, Dr. Willis, he called upon all teachers to get vaccinated as soon as possible, given the children are expected in school by the end of this week. And between the months of March and June, the target was 330,000 teachers, but only 158,720 were vaccinated, and out of this 158,720, only 89,611 were fully vaccinated. That is about half of the entire batch that was vaccinated. We also saw the TSC Secretary Nancy Macharia pleading with teachers to get vaccinated, given since the pandemic struck in our country, they have lost 73 teachers. Another 454 teachers have fully recovered from the virus. And this is a huge call to action message to our teachers as they get back to school with our children. Get vaccinated. It is a safety mechanism for you, a defense mechanism for you, as well as the children that you will be interacting with. Vic.
Now, so what is the way forward still on that story? Increase psychological support. 1. 2. Increase access to water and soap. Minimize use of sanitizers. 3. Sustain positive messages to teachers. 4. Train teachers on the management of COVID-19. And 5, enhance contacts with the health institutions and personnel for regular checkups. And lastly, blended learning. Incorporate remote learning as alternative modes of curriculum delivery. No more stopping learning in case of another surge. That is as far as that is concerned. 15 million students are in school right now. So let me give you the 4 options that Kalonzo Musyoka will now have to tackle ahead of 2022 polls. Now, option 1, it would be for him to consider being a running mate of Raila Odinga for the 3rd time and hope to win the elusive presidency. Now, this option is being fought by his party, which made him rule it out last month. Option 2, the second option for Kalonzo is to ditch Raila and be either a presidential candidate or running mate in Oka, that is One Kenya Alliance, which brings together ANC's Musalia Mudavadi, KANU chairman and Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, and his Bungoma counterpart Moses Wetangula. The third option will be to team up with William Ruto, that is Deputy President, which was being pushed by former Machako Senator Johnston Muthama, Kalonzo's former long-time ally. In such a scenario, he would be compelled to play second fiddle to Ruto, given that the Deputy President will not want to serve in the same position after serving for 2 terms. And the fourth option, just like in 2007 when Kalonzo ran for State House and garnered about 800,000 votes, he could decide to go it alone and consolidate his Ukambani power base and lock 1.5 million votes, and which he hoped of forcing a rerun in the presidential election and make a deal with the leading contender and form government. So out of all the 4 options, probably there is one that is missing, or 2, or even 3. With politicians, they will never run out of options. So you have it. Okay. As far as that is concerned, now Gachagua charged with 7.5 billion shillings fraud released on 25 million shillings bond. And judge says that the hefty bail terms were a reflection of the severity of the corruption allegations against the MP. Now, Badira MP Rigathi Gachagua appeared before a Nairobi court to face corruption charges yesterday. What started as a dawn raid at his Nyeri home on Friday and a weekend in police custody culminated in court with the MP pleading not guilty to 6 counts of economic crimes. Anti-Corruption Court Chief Magistrate Lawrence Mugambi ordered Gachagua to deposit a cash bail of 12 million shillings or a 25 million shillings bond with surety of a similar amount to secure his release. And yesterday, after his release, the MPs and the legislators allied to him or allied to Deputy President William Ruto and his friends as well said that the bail terms and the bond terms were, unreasonably high, and they are asking how they are going to raise that 12 million shillings, even as that was his only way out of court. All right.
Do they want us to start talking about the 7 billion fraud case?
All right, that according to them, they say that that money was too high. They are going to look for that money and raise the 12 million shillings cash bail or 25 million shillings bond and surety of the similar amount. Okay? And on the front page of the Star now, let's flip pages. Political bigwigs headache over 50+1 vote. Raila is eyeing Kalonzo Musyoka, while Deputy President Ruto is banking on Mount Kenya to seal round 1 victory. Now, frontrunners quoting regional kingpins, and that is there. And still on the front page of the Star, we have got the Shujaa there. Well, they are doing their best in Tokyo, Japan. Not so as per the expectation either way, but they're doing well. They were beaten by South Africa after a narrow loss to USA yesterday in the Olympics. And we still hope for the best for the boys, as they're being called. They're men, but they're always being called boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, still on the Star newspaper here, ODM to share cash with Wiper, but is deal possible? Now, opposition chief informs Kalonzo outfit of the decision that is what's making again on the Star newspaper here. You can take a look at that. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has climbed down and eventually agreed to share political parties' funds after 4 years of a standoff, and this is also seen as a way to them back and his allies back to the fold. Now, still on that story, Gachagua released on 12 million shillings bail in 7.4 billion shillings graft case. Now, there is that story of Mbijiwe, the political analyst and strategist. Now, the mother says that God and sources say he's safe. Wow. Now, this is the faith and hope of a mother. While the whole country is now saying that probably Mbijiwe cannot be found, the mother is saying, Jen, that the son is safe. God and sources say that he's safe. Now, security expert Mwenda Mbijiwe has been missing for almost 2 months now. But his mother says that her sources and my God, quote unquote, tell her he's alive and safe. This reminds me of one particular line in the good book that says that with faith even the mountains can move.
Absolutely. A mother's love will hold on up until the very last minute.
And you never know. Maybe that's the only hope that is remaining for the son to come back home.
You can imagine.
That we hope that, he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and we hope that the government will make sure that he's back home safe and sound. All right, what do you have, Jen?
Now, let me tie that particular story to this piece that has been featured here on the People Daily. It's in regards to a report that was done by the Department of Operations at DCI, and it compiled data between the months of April through to June 2021, and as a result of this particular report, they have come to the realization that 483 people have committed suicide in the past 3 months alone. Now, the county that tops this is Kiambu County, which recorded 108 suicide cases in general terms, but the central region actually tops when it comes to suicide cases. A total of 181 suicide cases were reported from Central. Rift Valley region came second with 68 suicide cases. Nyanza came in third with 67 cases. Nairobi fourth with 63 cases, while Eastern region came in at fifth position with 57 cases. Western region, 29 cases were reported. Coast 14, while Northeastern had the least number of cases with only 3 cases of suicide being reported. Getting further into the details of this report, the youngest person, as per this report, to have committed suicide was a 9-year-old child. And the oldest was a 76-year-old person, gender withheld. Some of the reasons that they suspect to have pushed these people to commit suicide include financial constraints, and in the particular case of this 9-year-old who did not leave a suicide note, they suspect that it could have been a case of scolding by the parents due to poor performance in school. And according to also the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, there has been a sharp increase in the number of suicide cases, given in the whole of 2019 there were only 196 cases of suicide that were reported. And looking at the past 3 months alone, it has almost tripled that figure, with 483 cases of suicide being reported. And also just looking at Kenya as a country, we are also topping when it comes to the countries that have high suicide rates. I had seen that figure somewhere here. I've just lost it, but it has been noted that Kenya is among the countries that have high suicide rates, and especially in the African space. And the DCI has called on the government to look into this matter, with DCI boss George Kinoti saying, "We have never recorded such a high number of suicide before, and this is not only alarming but calls for urgent remedial measures in order to bring these numbers down." Such a sad situation. This is the second time we are hearing of, or rather personally hearing of, such a young person having committed suicide. The other one that I heard of was back in 2019, where an 8-year-old boy committed suicide in their home due to scolding, again, from the parents. Took a rope, went to the pit latrine and hanged themselves. So this is a cause for concern. Vic.
All right. Okay. All right, so that story there about teachers and their fear as coronavirus say that could overrun congested institutions. But now there are possible challenges in term 1 of 2021. COVID-19 management. What are some of the possible challenges? That is one, syllabus coverage and overstretched infrastructure, increased workload, implementation of CBC and CBA, low payment of fees, and lastly, early pregnancies. Those are some of the possible challenges in term 1 of 2021. Remember, 50 million students are currently in school for the first term of this year's calendar. Now, political bigwigs battle for 50+1 vote as race to State House takes shape. Now, frontrunners Raila Odinga and William Ruto are courting regional kingpins to enhance their victory chances. We have got Gideon Moi, we have got Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Raila Odinga, as well as William Ruto. So that is that. Now, President's men planned central meetings to activate Jubilee. They are part of an elaborate scheme to reinvigorate the wobbling outfit. The Jubilee Party is planning a series of meetings in President Uhuru Kenyatta's central backyard as it moves to redeem itself after months of internal implosion. Now, the party secretariat has scheduled grassroots meetings in Kiambu, Murang'a County, that is Kiambu, Murang'a, Nyeri and Kirinyaga in the next weeks to revamp Jubilee. And the meetings are a part of a scheme by the President's men to reinvigorate the wobbling outfit that has been rocked by vicious infighting and blame game over its performance. Right, there you have it. And that comes just after two meetings. One of them was at the Jubilee headquarters where they had a stormy meeting, and the last one was a couple of days ago at a Nairobi hotel where they also said that they are ready to work and reinvigorate the Jubilee Party. At this particular point, I think this is the right time that we need to take a break so that we can also take that sip. What about you? Yeah, go and take yours as well. If you have yours with you, sip it as I do that. Jen? Let's take a break.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
Nissan Serena ndio hii, na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS, alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Finish your writing exercise.
I'm doing it right now, aren't I?
Do you need more work?
No. I'll continue.
Take her away.
Yes.
Mother! Mother! Don't take away my mother! Mother!
Oh, what a liar. His Majesty comes to see her every day, yet she complains she's lonely. Whatever. Your time is almost up. Let's see if you have any tricks left.
Concert Ching was poisoned by someone.
Poisoned?
Yo, mambo vipi watu wangu popote pale mlipo, nasema asanteni sana jamaa kwa kujiunga na mimi kila wakati kupitia kipindi Top Mashariki kupitia Channel 1, au sio? Nambari 1 mtu wangu nchini Kenya, KBC. Kama vipi mtu wangu, nasema asanteni sana jamaa. Kumbukeni kwamba Top Mashariki kuanzia hii wiki, yani this coming week mazee, itakuwa inakujia kila siku ya Jumanne saa 4 usiku. Yani katika mpango mzima ni Jumanne kuanzia saa 4 usiku. Top
the program. This is still Good Morning Kenya. Before we start with our first segment of the day or conversation of the day, how about we take a look at the traffic flow? And now, just to make you understand a bit about this particular road, this is now the Kisumu Chemilil Muhoroni Mamboleo Road. This particular road was commissioned by the president in terms of reconstruction, or better yet, rehabilitation in 2020 in the month of September. So that simply meant that the construction process was supposed to begin in October of last year, and this construction was supposed to take only 1 year. So again, that simply means that by October of this year, this particular road was supposed to be complete in terms of construction and already opened up to the public. However, in April, actually 21st of April, the Kenha DG, that is Peter Mundinya, said that what has made this project to stall, for it to still look the way it is looking like even up till now, is because of delays in approval in terms of the paperwork and what needs to be put in place before the construction process began. But in addition to that, he still said that the moment this construction process will begin, it will only take a period of 1 year because of the state or the way in which it is. And in addition to that, the road will also be inclusive of pedestrian walkways as well as cyclist lanes, and also traffic lights and traffic signals, and also proper drainage system. Because look at this is actually how this road usually looks like. Anytime there's heavy rains, it becomes impassable, and it's a very instrumental road as it traverses the counties of Kisumu, Kericho, and also Nandi. Very key in terms of transportation of food products. So again, a very key road in terms of food security and also proper livelihoods of people. The road has been in this particular state for the past 20 years. And because of how instrumental and how important it is, this is why it has become necessary to just reconstruct, or better still, rehabilitate this road. It's going to be a 63-kilometer road, and just like I mentioned, it will be inclusive of pedestrian walkways as well as cyclist lanes, which is again one of those things that we are really noticing, especially in terms of road reconstruction. Could be in Nairobi or even beyond, because this particular one is actually in Kisumu County, but still they are ensuring that they put that in place for easy movement of pedestrians as well as easy movement of cyclists. One of the major reasons as to why the road is also important in terms of transportation of food and very keen in food security is also because it leads or becomes, it is actually a very important road when it comes to that transportation of sugar from areas around Zoia going all the way to Kisumu and even past Kisumu. So the key thing also around the area is it will also be inclusive of that Mamboleo junction in terms of ensuring that also that particular junction comes into place well in terms of proper reconstruction of this particular route. And again, also one of the things that really resulted to the match, to just give a key focus in terms of perhaps rehabilitating this road, is because of the complaints of Kenyans living around this area. This is actually around the Mamboleo area, and look at how the road usually looks like. Anytime, especially there's heavy kind of traffic and the poor state of this road, and again, worse still, even when it rains, becomes very impassable. So we are just waiting to see when Kenha will communicate as per when the construction will begin, and also give you a proper detail as to when it will, the period in which it will take place. But more of what we know as of now is that the moment it begins, it's going to take a period of 1 year. That hasn't yet started because of those delays that the Kenha DG mentioned. But at least as of now, this is still how it is looking like. So in terms of traffic, really sometimes quite very impassable. So for now, I'll just give you a sneak peek of how the area looks like. In the next link up segment, now we'll look at the traffic flow on this particular area, try to see how the road really is affecting traffic. I mean, the poor state of this road, how is affecting traffic around this area. So again, it also simply means that this will also remain our key road of focus up until that construction process begins, and up until when the process will actually come to a complete.
All right, thank you for that. We will be sure to keep you updated with what is happening on our roads as and when we get to that particular segment. But for now, remember, you can be part of this conversation. Once again, our communication platforms are up and running. At KBC Channel 1 is how you can find us on both Twitter and Facebook, which we're also streaming live, so you can always take us with you on the go. You can also watch us on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke/KBC-live. live. That is the direct link to be able to stream us, and you can also talk to us using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. And remember to tag me as well at Jane Mamboy is my handle across all the social media platforms. Now we want to get started with our first item on our health bit today, and this is all about cervical cancer. Now, just looking at data that is out there, cervical cancer is the second leading form of cancer that kills women. And narrowing it down to Kenya, it is estimated to be about 33 in every 100,000 women succumb to cervical cancer in Kenya. Looking at the age factor, cervical cancer seems to be the leading form of cancer affecting women aged between 15 and 44. But what is informing this data that we are seeing? That is what we want to talk about this morning. And to help us with this conversation, we have with us in studio Dr. Catherine Nyongesa. She is a clinical oncologist as well as the head of the Cancer Treatment Center at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Good morning, Dr.
Good morning to you, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for always making time to be with us to help us understand these conversations around women health, to be specific. Now, just looking at some of this data that I've received here from just the general information out there, do you think it's accurate looking at the Kenyan space, cervical cancer being the second leading form of cancer among women and the first among this age group between 15 and 44?
So I would say cervical cancer is really the second commonest cancer among women in Kenya.
Of all
just
ages?
After breast cancer. Breast cancer is leading.
Yes.
Most of the women are not the 15-year age group. Actually, they are 44 and above. The younger, the 15-year-olds, those are having the maybe HPV infection, because we know that our girls start becoming sexually active around about that age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, also looking at the fact that out of every 100,000 women, there are 33 that have actually cervical cancer. Is this a fact that you can support from a medical standing, that you know the prevalence is actually at such a statistic?
The thing is, we can say 99.7% of all the cervical cancer we see is related to human papilloma virus, which is a sexually transmitted virus. This virus is common in women. In fact, maybe 80% of all the women you see around you have HPV virus or that infection. The goodness is that most of the women clear this virus from their body within a few years. In fact, by the age of 50, 80% of the virus is gone. But there are few women in whom this virus persists, especially the high risk type, and it leads to cervical cancer. But before it goes to that, we think there are other cofactors or risk factors that predispose these women to getting that cancer. Number one is having multiple sexual partners. So it means you get repeated HPV infections, or if your partner has multiple sexual partners, if you are HIV positive, if you have other genital tract infections, STDs, use of tobacco, if you smoke. So those are some of the cofactors that could predispose a woman to having cervical cancer. So in terms of the virus that causes this cancer, it is very prevalent.
It's prevalent among many women.
Yes.
But now it depends with the extent to which the virus flourishes in the body.
Yes, and also your ability, your innate immunity to fight it. Most of it, we fight it. Even just good genital hygiene helps you fight this virus. So as women, we need to keep on cleaning ourselves, keeping clean, and just taking care of our sexual health.
Okay. You know, when we talk about most cancers, they can be controlled when they are detected early. But now this brings us to the gaps that are there when it comes to conversations around cancer. And let's just start with the information gap, and more so linked to cervical cancer. From what you have seen interacting with the various women and the different spaces you have been, medically speaking, do you think our women have as much information or on the basics when it comes to even genital hygiene to be able to keep this HPV virus under control when it comes to information?
Unfortunately, many women are not aware of this information, and cervical cancer is one of the most preventable cancers, because it gives you a period of 10 to 20 years where you have an opportunity of getting diagnosed with the precancerous with the precancerous lesion, and then it can be treated and you get well before it gets to the cancer stage. So many women are not aware, and from the National Cancer Treatment Guidelines, which were put out by our MOH, they actually recommend that any sexually active woman should go for screening. But do women go? Majority have not gone, maybe just a small percentage. The target population for screening is women aged between 24 to 49. Still, if you look at that age group, no one has ever gone for a single screening for cervical cancer. So it is very important that women should be aware about this opportunity, and cervical cancer screening is not an invasive procedure. Some of the tests you can even do it at home. You are given a self-test kit, you collect the sample yourself and drop it off at the lab, or you walk. Even trained nurses, trained clinical officers, gynecologists can do this screening. So you don't have to go to a big hospital. Even in the county, we have people who can do this screening.
And would you say we have enough facilities to actually accommodate as much screening from as many women that we would want to come for screening as possibly so?
I would say we are making strides in the right direction. They are not enough. There's room to improve. But in terms of even healthcare personnel, you know, nurses are everywhere. If they are trained well, they just need to be trained. Even clinical officers, they can do cervical cancer screening.
And how often should a woman who is sexually active go for this screening to just make sure that in the event that they are predisposed or have the precancerous cells or lesions, it can be detected?
So generally, if you go for your first screening, it is negative, you can stay and wait for another 5 years before you go for another one. There are some vulnerable groups or special groups of women, like if you have HIV, we've seen that the frequency of getting cervical cancer in those kind of women is higher. So for that age group, we recommend like annual screening.
Once a year and you're good.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's talk a bit about the treatment part of cervical cancer. You have said it is one of the cancers that can be easily, one can recover from once it is arrested early. What are those treatment options that are available in the Kenyan space for cervical cancer?
So for the precancerous lesions, that bad area that has HPV that is altered can be removed surgically, and this is available in most of the county hospitals. And then if it is now moves to cancer stage, like stage 1, stage 2, surgery is still available in the counties. When it's now beyond surgery, then patients need to go for treatment which involves radiotherapy and plus or minus chemotherapy. So with that kind of treatment, you need a radiation treatment center, and we have national cancer treatment hospitals. We have Kenyatta Hospital, Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, Moi Teaching and Referral. So those counties already have, and we also have other counties that are setting up radiation centers. I would say even in Garissa, Mombasa, we talk of, I think they are Nakuru, there are efforts, and even in Kisii. So there's a lot of work that is going on, and apart from those ones, you can go to private hospitals. They are there in Nairobi, so for that kind of treatment. So I would say first treatment is surgery. If it's beyond operation, then you go for radiotherapy plus chemotherapy, and there are times when you will need all the 3 treatments depending on the stage. After the surgery, there are some things that the pathologist will look at the specimen, and then from there the oncologist will recommend whether you need radiation or chemotherapy. Having said that, I would say that cervical cancer treatment is multidisciplinary. It involves everyone, a majority of the healthcare workers. Apart from the oncologist, we have the gynecologists, we have the nurses, as I mentioned, the clinicians, the medical officers. So it is a collective responsibility that we all need to be aware of the common signs and symptoms of cervical cancer, how to recognize them and go for treatment much earlier.
Now, we'll be coming to those symptoms in a bit, but before we talk a bit about that, from what you have seen, at what percentage would you gauge recurrence of cervical cancer even after one has gone through one of these forms of treatment?
So the chances of recurrence are higher with higher stages. So suppose you go in stage 1, the chances of 5-year recurrence is like it's less than 15% if it's stage 1. But when you go to stage 2, you see the chance of recurrence now like doubles. In 5 years. And if it's stage 3 and 4, the recurrence rate is very high, over 80%.
Okay.
So really it's the stage that matters.
It
Cure
determines
rate,
a lot.
yes, is
Okay.
higher with early stage.
Now, let's come to those symptoms that for some women or most of women, you would think these are normal UTI conditions that most women tend to get. But what are those symptoms that we need to be careful about when it comes to early detection of cervical cancer that a common mwananchi would be able to note and, or rather realize and note and seek medical help?
So cervical cancer symptoms mimic STDs.
Many others.
Yeah. So when a woman is going in, out of hospital, getting treatment for STDs and they're not getting well, then they need to look beyond. I'll just mention a few. One is abnormal bleeding. So you have this sometimes heavy periods, prolonged periods beyond the normal days, so it should ring a bell. Another symptom is discharge. You have this abnormal vaginal discharge. Sometimes it's full smelling, watery. It can even be blood stained. When during intercourse, a woman may feel a lot of pain, so we call it dyspareunia. Another symptom would be if it's left untreated for some time, women get fistulas. You have fistula, urine leaking through the back passage, and then you also have, the stool leaking through the front passage because of that fistulation.
Yes.
And most of the time these women have gone, they initially try to hide from their spouses. They think, what is wrong? Did I pick an infection from a toilet or from wherever? But when you are treated for simple infections and it's not going away, then it's good to have a checkup.
So do you think that's the problem with most of us? We tend to address the small problems for so long, and by the time you're actually going for proper medical checkup, things might be a bit beyond control.
Yeah, definitely. We try to self-medicate. You go to the chemist, you try to explain your symptoms. Sometimes you don't say everything.
And get over the counter drugs.
Yeah, you buy those antibiotics, you take. But when then there's another woman who told me how she kept on going to hospital. So the doctor told her that you are coming alone for this treatment, then this STD you need to bring your spouse. So she brought the spouse, they were both treated, and still she had the symptoms. So only to realize it's actually cancer.
Now, there's a message that has come in, and due to privacy concerns, I might not mention names, but there's one that's asking about the abnormal menses that you have mentioned. They go out to point that they have had their menses, and another 2 weeks they had a light flow for about 3 days. Could this be a cause of concern given it's the first time it's happening?
If you are sexually active and you're having this abnormal menses, it is of concern. So as I mentioned, it could be cervical cancer, but it could also be other gyna issues like fibroids. There are many other causes of abnormal uterine bleeding, but the commonest one is fibroids and then cervical cancer.
Hence the mimicking symptoms.
Yes.
Now, before we get to more feedback, keep them coming through. Remember, questions, comments, clarification. We thoroughly welcome them to watch a Hitabia. Could you self-treat? Our home doctors, we stop that and get the proper information. Now, let's talk a bit about the treatment culture, even from among the people. We are an African space, and many a times we are progressing as a continent, but we still have places in our country where culture seems to be a hindrance when it comes to access to medical services, and especially for women. Is this something that you can say you have interacted with from the ladies that you have managed to treat or interacted with in a professional space when it comes to cancer?
Yeah. I've seen the health-seeking behavior is very poor among men. Actually, women tend to seek health care better
More
than
men.
Yeah, and the unfortunate bit is that because of these barriers culturally, you know, women, and we are not supposed to speak about our private life in the open. Like, I've seen a mama who has only sons, and you know, she's having this abnormal bleeding. She's like, how will I tell my sons that I'm bleeding, you know? So she has to go whisper to a friend who is a distance, then that friend will tell the children, then the children will take her to hospital. So that has made like many women come to hospital late. In fact, I was just looking at some statistics. We find that patients are presenting in stage 3 and 4, about 70% of them.
Most
when
of the time.
cure, it's really not very good because of the late presentation
to our hospitals. And now that brings us to our professionals on the other hand. How well equipped with information and infrastructure and the skills that you feel you need as an oncologist, for that matter, to be able to assist any cancer patients that may come through? And given you had mentioned there's a chain of other professionals that are involved when it comes to the treatment of cancer.
So we still need a lot of awareness in the healthcare profession and even in the general population.
Yes.
We need to train more doctors, nurses, radiotherapists, physicists, you know, all those. We also need to build infrastructure. We still have infrastructure is not up to task, given the fact that we see over close to 50,000 new cancer cases every year, and we are losing more than 33,000. So you see, it already tells a lot that the death rate is high for cancer patients. Why? Because of late diagnosis and also limited and even timely access to cancer care. And we want to change this narrative, that hoping in the next 10 to 20 years we'll have less deaths and also fewer patients coming with late stage cancer.
How would you characterize our country's policies around the health sector in itself, and more so narrowing it down to cancer treatment in our country?
I think our government has tried. We have the National Cancer Institute, which is tasked with this mandate on national cancer control, and there are various programs. One of them is early detection and screening, and then moving on to early treatment, even timely treatment, trying to expand these services close to people back home. They don't have to come to Nairobi. We have multiple chemotherapy centers which have been set up, and now we have even now more national cancer centers that are being set up. So I would say there's a lot of progress, and in training, the University of Nairobi is training oncologists. I will tell you, the uptake is very good. We are impressed. A few years back, we'll talk of
it was a whole other conversation.
Yes, 10 oncologists for the whole country. But now we have more in training, and in the next maybe 10 years, we'll be talking of over 100 oncologists in the country.
Now, there's also another one asking, what is the relationship, or if there is a relationship between cervical cancer or the HPV virus and infertility cases? How are they linked?
Okay.
If there's a link at all.
There is no link, but when one is prone to uncontrolled HPV, it's sometimes you may also have co-infections like chlamydia infection and other genital tract infections, and this can lead to blockage of your tubes, because of that inflammation and may lead to infertility. But I've not come across whereby HPV is the direct cause of infertility, because we know that it's common in 80% of the women have HPV.
So if it were a cause for infertility, the rates would be much
like
higher.
80%.
Okay. Now, we want to take a very quick commercial break, but we encourage you to keep sending in those questions. I appreciate those of you who have already sent in any questions, as simple or complicated as they may be. We welcome them to help you address them and get the proper information from a professional in this particular area. So use the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Channel 1 on both Twitter and Facebook, as well as at Jane Wamboy across all the socials. We will be back to address your questions in a
Nissan Serena ndio hii, na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS, alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi, kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Ananipenda, yes. Ananispoil, yes. Ananifanyia kila kitu, yes, everything, yes, yes, yes. Can we now deal with the problem, Kate?
Huzuni kuniondokea mimi ni urongo. He is my son, Kate.
Lakini amekunywa dawa zake.
Hajapewa dawa.
Hajapewa dawa? Sasa atapona vipi?
In my shoes with some bright color socks. Time out, but me nah go wear no flip flops. Cause none now mess up my mood. We just a walk on the road. Go make we rock and groove. Hey.
It was a case tonight. Girlfriend a request the love cause she said feel right.
If you don't do me right, somebody's gonna get in line.
A woman like you, oh, I don't deserve it. Here we go, here we go again. Here we go, here we go again. Here we go, here we go again. Here we go again. Here we go, here we go again.
What does this number mean to you? A pack leader? A winner? Or just a number? To us, it means freshness, boldness, vibrancy, and heritage. That's why at KBC Channel 1, we make it easier for you to pop up your family entertainment to a fresh, exciting, and colorful bouquet.
Welcome back. Glad you are still with us. This is Good Morning Kenya, and we are still on our first health item, and this is all about cervical cancer. The hashtag still remains to be Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Channel 1, and at Jane Mamboy is how you can be able to talk with me across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. I see Eke rapper Gabriel saying, watching the show all the way from Angoria, Teso North, Omer Village with my mom, Florence Nasike, brother Dan Eke rapper, and Lieutenant Crispin. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you for being with us. Capricorn, Baba Kulutu, tuned in all the way from Moranga. Now, Ephraim anauliza, when is the black therapy treatment done, and what are the side effects? Those are the questions that we welcome. Ladies or gentlemen, this conversation affects both of us in one way or the other. So let's start with this question from Ephraim Diritu. When is black therapy, is it black therapy or brachytherapy treatment done, and what are the side effects?
So brachytherapy is a form of radiation therapy. So we have two types of radiotherapy for cervical cancer: the external beam radiotherapy, where we use big equipments and the patient just lies under the machine and it's like having a scan. So, and the treatment pass through the cervix and burn the cancer. Then we have the internal one, which is brachytherapy, where the doctor puts some applicators into the cervix and the womb and around the vaginal area to focus radiation around that area. So they are all complementary. When a patient finishes external beam radiation, they will be referred for brachytherapy.
Okay.
So brachytherapy is a bit invasive. Patients feel uncomfortable, so that's one of the commonest effects. They'll complain, they're feeling pain. After treatment, they may have a bit of spotting, bleeding. And if the cancer, for example, had extended to involve somewhere around the blood and rectum, patient may develop fistulas, just because the cancer, once it melts, there is weakening of the walls,
the muscle.
So then they may fistulate or they may perforate.
And which stage cancer do you most of the time have to perform this therapy?
So from most of the, say from stage 2 onwards, but it's also an option for early stage where a patient doesn't want surgery. We can still use brachytherapy. Okay. So I would say it's complementary to the external beam radiation in most of the patients.
All right.
Yeah.
Now there's another question that has come in. I will not mention this one, the name, but they're asking, what is the exposure percentage or level when it comes to a same-sex relationship, and especially among women? So looking at the HPV virus that could predispose to cancer and the likes.
It is rare with same sex, especially for women, because for the HPV to reach the cervix, it takes a lot for women, but we've seen it is more common in heterosexual relationships.
Okay.
But having mentioned that, HPV also affects men, and we've seen it in gay men. Where they have that kind of relationship, they get anal cancer because the HPV virus is transmitted to the anus, and with the time it stays there, and if they're HIV positive, they can actually get anal cancer. This HPV virus also affects the external genitalia. Apart from the cervix, we have it in the vulva area. So women actually get vulval cancer, and men get penile cancer because of this HPV virus.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk a bit about lifestyle changes that we need to adopt, that for some might be hard, just having to have a shift in what you are used to this new way of life, and especially if you have been exposed to cancer before, and even if you haven't been exposed, those measures that you can put in place to sort of be your defense mechanisms. What would you advise the greater population to be mindful about when it comes to their lifestyle, their diet, and the likes?
So number one, prevention is better than cure. So we start there. Having protected sex if you are not married, for example. Then avoiding multiple sexual partners or having a partner with multiple sexual partners. Good hygiene, just taking care of your hygiene is very important. Clean yourself regularly if you have access to water,
Clean
which
water,
everyone has access to clean water. And then avoid use of tobacco. It predisposes to cancer. Take care of, like, you don't get co-infections with those STDs. And then once you are exposed, you've had cancer, still continue taking care of yourself, keeping healthy exercise wherever you can. Avoid still other multiple sexual partners because they can reinfect. You can get infection with HPV. Avoid use of tobacco. Use of excessive alcohol is also not healthy to our body. And going for follow-up and check-up, because the cancer can come back. So with good check-up, if it comes back, it can be picked early, and then timely initiation of treatment is started.
It's important. All right. I think that's all the time we had for this particular conversation. But once again, these are not discussions that I always say we can exhaust in one sitting. We are bound to have subsequent conversations to just add on to this knowledge that we have received so far. We have been speaking with Dr. Catherine Nyongesa. She is a clinical oncologist as well as the head of the Cancer Treatment Center at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We have so much more lined up for you. We have fantastic conversations coming up in a bit. You definitely don't want to miss out on that. But first, Doreen.
Still focusing on this particular route. This is still the Mamboleo Muhoroni Kisumu Road, and I had promised you earlier that we will just now check the traffic flow, try to see how all this process is actually affecting traffic, in as much as there's just some bits happening in terms of construction of this particular route. So right before we go to the whole detail of the same road, let's just quickly check the traffic flow. Now this is actually that particular route around the junction there, or better still around this roundabout. There's been heavy kind of gridlock, especially around this roundabout. Earlier on when I was checking this map, there was really heavy kind of traffic, but it looks like things are changing a bit. This is just on that particular junction whereby those ongoing works will actually take place. And around this junction, what will also happen in terms of reconstruction, the moment those works begin, it will actually entail dualing of this Mamboleo junction. So that simply means from a single carriage to a dual carriage road, and all of that just to ease the traffic flow and to make it easy for the road users, both those on vehicles as well as the pedestrians. But clearly right now, not that bad. I mean, it's really interesting to just see the green all through, clearly indicating that it's really moving at a very fast pace, and this begins from that roundabout. But then again, in as much as it's a roundabout, and oftentimes you'd expect to see heavy kind of gridlock, or could be either on major roundabouts or minor roundabouts, like this one in particular. It's not really one of those major roundabouts per se, because it's just a junction, and clearly from what you're spotting also on this map is that it doesn't branch to various roads like what you would see on perhaps major roundabouts, because on this particular one just branches off to Kisumu Vihiga Road. There, as you head over to the other side of the Kisumu Busia Road, going all the way to branching off to Kakamega, that particular section. And again, also coming all the way from this is also coming from the Kisumu Vihiga Road as well. So clearly not one of those busy roundabouts. Perhaps one of the major reasons as to why I would expect to see every kind of gridlock is because of the poor state of that road, and perhaps the little ongoing works that have just begun on that particular route. But in terms of traffic, not that bad, moving at a very fast pace. So again, it simply means perhaps for our viewers, either those coming to these areas this morning, if at all you're living areas around Nairobi, coming to areas perhaps around Kisumu, Vihiga, or even Kakamega, not so bad, clearly around this area. And also just on those estates around this area, or perhaps villages, again, not so bad, because clearly right now moving at a swift pace, just on a small section as you leave the roundabout, going all the way to areas around Vihiga is where it begins to slightly build up, but altogether manageable kind of traffic, hence that orange color there. As you leave the other section of around Kisumu, Vihiga, coming all the way past the roundabout, past the Mamboleo junction, still branching off through that particular roundabout, coming with the same route, again, not so bad at all, green all through. I mean, it's so interesting because right, perhaps what you're seeing actually here is so different from what you would see in Nairobi, especially in this early morning hour, and also not forgetting the fact that this week as well as next week is what we call the back to school week. So obviously those are some of the reasons that would lead to heavy kind of gridlock on major roads, could be Nairobi or even beyond, but it's so different on this particular one, and that still continues like that. Nothing is changing on that route. So I just want us to quickly check the Kisumu-Busia road, given the fact that it also branches off on that particular route, and also this is again how the same road looks like. Not bad at all, green all through. Again, on some sections is where it begins to traffic begins to slightly build up, but altogether still a manageable kind of traffic. This continues all the way past areas of going all the way to areas around Busia, going all the way to areas around Yala as well. Not so bad, moving at a very, very fast pace. So regardless of the fact that perhaps there could be some ongoing road works around this area, which we are checking today, there's really no heavy kind of traffic. And also as you get to branch off, just leaving that Kisumu-Busia road, coming all the way to Mumias Road, as you branch off to areas around Kakamega, again, not bad at all, moving at a very fast pace. The beauty is that this is actually on both lanes. So on this particular one, when I'm talking about both lanes, it just simply means as you leave areas around Kisumu-Busia, branching off to Mumias Road and joining to Kakamega as well, and also leaving those areas that I've just mentioned, coming through the same route. Not really bad. I mean, it's really just interesting just looking at the traffic flow around the areas of Kisumu, branching off to areas of Busia as well, and also areas of Kakamega. Not so bad. It's so different from what you would see in Nairobi, especially at this morning hour. But again, this is how it looks like in terms of traffic around these areas, just branching off to Kisumu, Busia, as well as also our focus this morning, which is around the Mamboleo Junction, is just the same as how it was earlier on. Nothing has changed, so clearly means that still moving at a very, very fast pace, and this is still how the same route looks like. Green all through on both lanes, clearly moving at a very, very swift pace. Again, also it simply means that in as much as this road is really at that bad state where we'd expect to see heavy kind of gridlock, we're not really seeing any of that. But also, as I mentioned to you earlier, the moment that the moment those construction works begin on that particular road, which is the Kisumu Chemilil Muhoroni Mamboleo Junction, I'll keep you up to speed in regards to that, and also just try to check how all of that will be affecting the traffic flow. Perhaps we're not really seeing that heavy kind of gridlock, given the fact that those road works have not yet begun, as it was mentioned by the Ken Hadiji there, because of those delays. Perhaps that's why we are seeing the swift moving of traffic around this area. But perhaps when those works will begin, we'll also just try to check and see how the same routes will be doing in terms of traffic, try and see how all of this is going to be affecting the traffic flow around the same area, around areas of Kisumu. Remember that also this is going to be a 63 kilometer road, very instrumental, very important, especially when it comes to matters food security and proper livelihood of residents or people around Kisumu area.
Perfectly put, and we are now changing gears and getting to the political segment now. People in politics, and yes, send in your questions, your comments, and even your questions, and we'll be sampling them during and after this particular program. With me in studio, I have Honorable Sylvia Kasanga, who is a nominated senator in the Wiper Democratic Party. She will tell us more about what's happening in the party, in the Wiper Party, in the umbrella party that she belongs to. And of course, a gentleman here, one-man show. In 2017, you all remember him? Right, 2017, Muthero Karriara, who was the presidential running mate in 2017 presidential election. And by the way, he's still running for that particular seat. All right, today is youth and politics, and how you as a youth can take charge in politics. Lady and gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Mheshimiwa, let's start with you first of all. What's happening in the party, in the Wiper, in the umbrella party? Are we covered? Or we are going to be rained now that the umbrella has been folded off the NASA coalition? What's happening?
The umbrella has never been folded.
Right.
And it will never be folded.
But at least we saw something that...
something definitely happened yesterday.
What happened?
First, let me appreciate having me on the platform.
You're welcome.
I come to KBC once in a while, but I usually come for the afternoon. The lunchtime one where we speak in Kiswahili. So I'm happy to be here for this particular one, and I appreciate it. Now, Wiper, as always, the umbrella is there. The umbrella is a sign of comfort to tell Kenyans we are here and we are here to protect you and we are here to serve you. That's what an umbrella does, and there's no way it'll ever fold. Let's just be clear
at least
with that.
from the NASA coalition.
The movement from the NASA coalition is something that has been coming. And it is in no way to suggest that our bigger brother, we are looking down on him, or we can never work with our bigger brother. That is not really the case. This is a case of reorganizing ourselves. If you handle contracts, just like any other contract, when people get into a contract, when the two parties get into a contract, they go with the very clear terms of reference.
Yes.
And the clear terms of reference and deliverables and how to share whatever benefits or no benefits, how to share them, and in the end, how to exit. And the contract has a lifetime. So what we are saying is that as far as we are concerned, the lifetime of this particular contract has come to an end. And it is time now we go back and then regroup and come back again. That is exactly what is happening. So it should not be construed as anything else other than an opportunity for everyone first to go back to their house, reorganize themselves, and then come back again to the table so that we can come with new terms of reference for the next contract. So that's what really it is.
Yes.
Now, at the moment, we have been, of course, having conversations with other parties. And as you know, we have the One Kenya Alliance, which also is in the cooking pot. It's cooking, and it's looking good, because then it has a representation, from a wider range of Kenyans. And remember, one of the things that our party has been very clear about is the inclusivity. We are saying we want to work together with everybody. We want everyone to be included. And so we are thinking that the One Kenya Alliance may be now the alliance to watch out for, that everyone now should come on board so that we work together as One Kenya Alliance. So really that is what happened yesterday. And I think it's such a big deal because for a long time we've been walking in the shadow of ODM. And it has been construed that we cannot survive without ODM. And yes, although we may be smaller, of course not. I mean, we are still here, and we will always be here. And remember, we have our representation, which is a strong representation. We have very strong leadership in Wiper, and if you look at the work of all our parliamentarians, you will see strong leadership. And in fact, we feel that because of the way NASA had been the terms of reference, the way it had been organized, we actually lost a couple of seats, because then you'd find also ODM fielding in places where maybe they should have left for their younger brothers to so we could have actually gained probably a little bit more.
Why are you feeling bullied by the ODM?
Well, the word bully comes up a lot. And it is true, sometimes there is bullying. In fact, when you hear their Secretary General speaking on TV, in fact it borders on insulting other people's leaders, which is very wrong. That kind of talk is very wrong, because my leader is my leader and will always be my leader. You don't know him, so you have to respect every leader, because they have a process in which they get where they are, and there are people who have chosen them. So that kind of talk is not correct. And you see, when a Secretary General speaks, he's not speaking for himself. The fact remains, he's not speaking for himself. So that is the kind of thing we are saying. We don't want this kind of brothers around us who demean us and look down upon us, yet we are leaders in our own very right. That kind of bullying comes. But I'll tell you, in the House, like in Senate, the cooperation between ODM and Wiper is really commendable. We work together very well in the House.
Because you're members of the NASA coalition.
Yes, we work together in the House, and in the House there is no really NASA, it is leaders working together. There is no bullying that we have experienced in the House. If anything, what we've seen is support for each other. ODM and Wiper, our agendas in Parliament have usually moved together as one. So really the bullying is this perception that is drawn, especially in the social media out there, rather than in the House per se. And it is a wrong thing. It's something we have to call out and say, this is not correct. You can't walk around, very arrogantly, thinking other leaders are lesser than you. It is not correct.
I see Carrera here nodding. He is a presidential candidate, by the way. A youthful there. I covered him during presidential election and during 2017 at Catholic University. It was that particular moment you feel like you are a one-man show and the entire world is watching. Are you in talks with Wiper?
We have not engaged Wiper yet. But I guess now that they're back to the market, maybe it's time, because the goal when you want to deliver change is you must first capture power. And I must laud what Wiper did yesterday. It's what has been happening in Kenya of a time where we've had an abusive relationship between the ruling elite and the citizens.
Yes.
Wiper has been in an abusive relationship with their elder brothers.
Wow.
I have heard on national...
It started from bullying, now it's abusive relationship.
Well, that's what it's been.
Right.
Just as abusive as it has been between citizens and the ruling elite, even the ruling elite amongst themselves have extended the same culture.
Yes.
Which makes you wonder if they do not have power right now and they can treat each other in that way, then what would happen when they capture power? Now, that said, Wiper wiggled themselves out of that, even though it's not official yet.
Yes.
I'm hoping they will go ahead and write to the registrar of political parties.
That is my next question.
And make it official, so that it's not an empty threat. Wiper's party leader is known to be a very good negotiator.
Yes.
Actually a smooth walker who can walk through situations and hapo katikati he emerges with something. He could be positioning himself for a negotiation. So he captures the presidential candidacy, supported by the others, of course. Nothing is wrong with that, but it's a good thing that for once they have stood up to ODM. You remember them being called dwarfs, and the elder brother saying you cannot force them to kneel or bend so they are at the same height. This is a lesson to ODM that times are changing and they should pay attention. And to every other party that has been dealing with its partners in the same way. Hii Kenya ni yetu sisi wote. It doesn't belong to specific individuals. It's true that there are some things that were not very clear, but they'll become clear as the road progresses towards 2022.
Absolutely. And Mheshimiwa, he's raised a very salient point there. Why haven't you written to the register of political parties to formally quit the NASA coalition? Was this just an empty threat?
Well, the ratification was just done yesterday.
Right.
Remember, the NEC meeting was just yesterday.
Yes.
We sat for about 3 hours, and it was unanimously decided that that is the direction to go. So, of course, between today, maybe and tomorrow, the letter then will go out to the registrar of parties. No, it will happen. It will happen because that is what NEC has ratified. Unless NEC sits again and changes their mind, which I can tell you is not going to happen.
Does it mean, because a statement by Suna East Member of Parliament, Junet Mohammed, said that whichever way it goes, Wiper members of Parliament serving in different committees in Parliament will still continue serving those capacities. So what's happening here? Because if you leave NASA, you should leave the committees as well.
Yeah, we are ready to leave. But you see, I told you, in Parliament we work very well together, and we have very strong leadership ourselves as Wiper, as you know, like our minority whip, Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. You know how strong a leader he is. Even them, they don't. Nobody in Senate would want to see Senator Mutula not whipping, because he does such a good job of it, as well as sitting in the House Business Committee to advise the House business how it moves forward. So chances are that nobody wants to lose that. So that tells you that in as much as, yes, we are saying this cooperation called NASA needs to wind up so that we can regroup again, the cooperation that is the work that we do is appreciated by both parties. That's really what it is. We have nothing to fight about when it comes to the actual work of how we coordinate as NASA. That one I want to assure you. So we were ready. If ODM wants you know, our seats to be taken away, we don't mind. We spoke about it yesterday and we said fine if that is the case. Otherwise, if they don't mind, we shall continue serving. In any case, we will always serve Kenyans from wherever, you know, wherever we sit and wherever we are. So it is really not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not really a big deal from where we sit.
Raila Odinga gave Wiper the presidential election, the parliamentary, from the political parties fund. Why not the presidential?
I guess because it didn't really happen. The first one was nullified, and then the second one
and that is one of the bone of contention.
Well, not really. It's not really a bone of contention from where we are. The first election was nullified. The second election we did not participate.
Yes.
So there's really nothing to share there, so to speak.
Yeah.
No, you know, we are happy and we are satisfied. If you had my party leader, the way he spoke yesterday, you know, ODM has finally ceded that indeed they needed to share the funds. You see, first we needed to get to that point of them accepting that their wins were not just theirs. They were our wins. You see, that is what the concept is.
Yeah.
The concept of sharing money is accepting that you don't just sit with all those seats in parliament pretty just like that. We all participated. We all campaigned for ODM.
Yeah.
We campaigned for ODM around the country. So we all participated in it. So we deserved that portion. So with his honorable Right Honorable Raila accepting, that was, you know, that's what brothers should do.
Yeah.
And, you know, the pain of it is that from 2017, we've been having this quagmire. Imagine if Wiper had received their money right from 2017. We would have been able also to do many things and grow our, you know, chama, our, even us buy buildings the way they have bought buildings, you know, and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was a very painful part of the contract for us. But it was not the ultimate deal breaker, actually. Yeah, the ultimate deal breaker is just the fact that we are not just going to be in the shadow anymore as Wiper.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We needed to come out, redefine ourselves, and then now we move forward.
Okay. Yes.
Allow me to weigh in on this because it's important.
They don't be the shadow anymore.
Yes, and therein lies the problem.
Right.
That there is quite a bit of insincerity amongst our leaders. Let me speak as one who went through the second presidential election.
Yes.
That's the one that on record counts. NASA pulled out of that election. So when the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties is dishing out funds, according to the law, it's two-way. Number one, there's that based on your strength in Parliament, and then based on the presidential vote.
Yes.
Now, NASA did not participate in the presidential vote that counts. So they are not supposed to get anything. Now, ODM, in their wisdom, albeit all too late, realized that we did not give our partners a fair hearing. In as much as in this mix they shouldn't get a share, we should have shared what we got. So there is the first step where the insincerity comes in. That long before, they should have realized that it's only fair that since we went hunting together with these people, even though we did not run to the very end, we got something. Let's first share that, even as we look to share in the other. Now, the other part is this. The other partners know too well. Like, for instance, in the case for the presidency, in their contract it says that they were to support Raila to become president.
Yes.
And then for one term. And then it would be ODM's turn to support another candidate. That's what the contract says, but it's not what they say out there. Raila has never been president.
And that's how he argues, but you know, we cannot rule away because he's never become president, even though the contract says that it's just one term.
Yes. And it's on paper.
Right.
That's disputed. So that's the other part of the insincerity that we need to get out of. When we get into a contract, we should get into it with the intention to live it to the full. Because if we don't, the same thing that happens to the promises we make when we are looking for votes follows. That will make promises which we do not intend to keep. We hoodwink the voter, and then after we're in office, it's business as usual. It's us first and then them if our interests are aligned.
Yes.
So it's time to start curing this insincerity, running on bad faith. We should all come to the table with clean hands and ensure that in all these that we are doing, it's the citizens' interest that's put first.
Citizens first. Mheshimiwa, are we likely to see a talk between Raila Odinga and Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka to reunite?
Anything is possible.
I saw that coming. Because yesterday Kalonzo Musyoka, Honorable, said that he's still open to talks, you know, with he's not completely cut ties with ODM.
Yes.
Are we likely to see that coming?
You know, it's the reality of the times.
Yeah.
You cannot have a single candidate running for presidency in this country anymore. Those days are gone. Yeah, we're going to be ruled now by coalitions.
Yes.
The same way you have the Jubilee coalition that is ruling us right now, is the same way even in the next electoral cycle, you're going to see a coalition. A coalition of who is the question.
Yeah.
And that is why, like you're seeing the karata now happening, pop, 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 movement going around.
Yeah.
And don't forget we have the BBI that is sort of looming. We're waiting to see what the judiciary is going to rule. And, you know, whether, you know, elections will be postponed or otherwise, which as Wiper we have put our foot down. We are saying no, we have to go by the constitution. But, you know, the BBI was bringing some serious structural adjustments, which will of course affect the way, you know, leaders will organize themselves. And even without BBI, still, coalitions, people will still talk. And, you know, it's a game of numbers. Leadership, I mean, our politics is a game of numbers. So in the end, you can't walk alone. You have to be open enough to speak to like-minded. But the issue here is like-minded leaders. You know, like you're saying, and he's speaking very well, and I really appreciate you for that. You know, the interest of Kenyans, many times, you know, you get the impression that the interest of Kenyans is nowhere on the table.
Yeah,
it's like nowhere.
It's us first.
It's the leaders. We want to get into power. Power is about controlling resources. It's about controlling money. And our new constitution, we have about 1.5 trillion every year that is under the control of, you know, the president and the DP and their team. And that is a significant amount of money, and how it is going to be distributed, you know, across the regions. That is after you have distributed to the counties and all the others. What is left is about 1.5 trillion. And that's a significant amount of money. And that's why you're seeing all this, you know, movement going around, who's going to be next to control, you know, that resource. So the interest of Kenyans is important, and what in Wiper we are saying, it is very critical that we work with the like-minded leaders. You know, first we have zero tolerance for corruption, and that we have demonstrated by the quality of our leaders, even starting from our own party leader. We are coming to Kenyans on a clean slate, and we are telling Kenyans the biggest, you know, one of the biggest issues that is affecting us today as a society, our economy, and everything around what we do is the issue of corruption or facilitation money, or whichever way you want to coin that thing, that vice that has entered into our fabric of our society. And we're saying we need now leaders who are going to come on a clean slate. You're not going to fight corruption if you're not clean.
Leaders like One Kenya Alliance for that reason?
I'm talking about Wiper Democratic Movement.
Yes.
We are starting there first. And that's why we felt, first let us exit from everywhere, and then let's start looking for like-minded people. You see? So even the One Kenya Alliance, as it's forming itself, we are still looking. We're still looking. You know, we are still looking. Because we are very clear in our minds. Forming the next government will require people who come with a clean slate. Because we have to tackle corruption without fear and favor as a first stop.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That takes me, we need clean leaders to start on a clean slate. That takes me to a new topic here about the youth now. 70 plus and over of voters are the youth.
Yes.
35 and below. But mostly we rarely see them on political podiums and political platforms. What is happening? Starting with you, Paul.
What's happening is the ground that's famously referred to is poisoned to empower young people and the youth to ascend to elective political office. Usually it would be best if through appointive positions we gave young people and the youth an opportunity, because that's when you establish yourself, garner sufficient experience, and even gather resources to run for office. But we've seen in the past couple of years, the executive led by His Excellency the President has not been in favor of electing these cadre of people.
Yes. And actually, according to research, is around 6.9% make it to parliament.
Yes.
That's a small number.
And it's even smaller when it comes to top positions in appointive government offices. And I just say that it's prejudicial the president, in his own admittance, said that he's not in favor of appointing young people because when he gives them an opportunity, they steal. But look at the track record. The track record says that since independence, young people have exhibited exemplary leadership.
Yeah.
You remember Tom Boyer from back then. You remember J.M. Karaoke. Come through our history. Look at the current Senate where Kasanga sits.
Yes.
She just mentioned Mutula Kilonzo. Look at the work that Senator Murkomen, Senator Sakaja, all the youthful leaders are doing. Go to the National Assembly.
Yes.
Look at the great work. Now, in the top executive, we have Zach Kinuthia.
Yes.
We have Patrick Osian. We have Mwangazi, the
David
CAS.
David. CS, yes.
Yeah, the CAS for health. Look at how great the work they are doing. And ask yourself, what if instead of the 3 we have in the top executive, we had the proportionate representation that is over 70%? How much could we get done? Now, change all that. Let's say we believed more in young leaders and we elected more of them into parliament. You see, they not only bring the energy, passion, enthusiasm, we have so much more to lose. We know that if we mess up now, we have a longer duration to pay for our sins. So usually we'll exert ourselves with integrity. And our goal is mostly excellence. So a season has come when we, as the youth and the young of Kenya, must decide that we've been on the menu for far too long. And even that which is on the menu has value. Let us demand that our worth is given for what it is.
Let's demand that our worth is given to us. Senator, what do you make of that? It's a powerful statement.
Yeah, that is very powerful, and you've said it very well.
Yes.
You can't ignore the youth. It's wrong to ignore them, to imagine they're not there. That's just wrong.
They'll have a revolt.
Yes, they will have a revolt. But I think I'm trying to see how to frame this. In the executive, public service.
Yes.
I can understand public service not having a very youthful, a large number of youthful representation. Because public service has a way that it works, you know, and the way you have to rise to the ranks and the way you have to learn the ropes, because there are ways of doing things in public service. So that one I can understand. Although it does not mean that then we should not begin to see young people being, you know, brought in and beginning to be trained to rise, you know, and learning the ropes. Now in Parliament, we have surprisingly a very good representation of young people. In fact, let me tell you, let me confess here today.
Please do.
Me, I'm not a youth. I know I'm always clustered as youth, but I passed the bracket of youth many years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm happy to, you know, to go with that bandwagon.
To engage the debate about the youth, right?
About the youth. We have probably 7 or 8 senators who are actually younger than myself in Senate. Yes. So you cannot say the youth are not represented in the Houses of Parliament, both National Assembly and in the Senate. But for some reason, it's as if that impact is still not felt by the young people on the ground. Like he's saying, on the ground, it's like they don't feel that the young people don't feel like we really are represented up there. And I'm not sure quite why the disconnect then is there. Maybe our leaders were not engaging enough with the youth so that they can feel.
Just youths are just okay with average?
Well, that's the next thing I'm going to come to. But there's clearly a disconnect there that we need to figure out then what needs to be done. Then why is it then that our leaders, whenever they now need attention, they find a way of going to the youths, but in the negative way? Then they rally the youths to do, you know, bottoms up, wheelbarrow.
Vijana oye and all that, yes.
They're the ones who are called now to do those things, which is not what the kind of engagement that we want. So I just want to say maybe it is how our civic education maybe is not reaching our young people enough. I don't know what you're going to say, but the few times I've engaged with young people, because I have several programs I've engaged with youth. When I was doing the mental health when we were doing the advocacy work for the Mental Health Amendment Bill at that time, I was doing a lot of work with the youths because they're the ones who came on board. You know, the young people around mental health have really organized themselves with a community-based group. So I used to do a lot of work with the young people. But you can see they don't really understand what is your work in Parliament. So a lot of my conversations actually had to do with, I'm a senator and this is what I do in Parliament. And how do I engage with you? You can bring your problems, I escalate them in this manner, in this manner, in this manner. So you begin to see that there's need for some serious civic education. I don't know where we have missed the gap. I don't know whether our education system is teaching us enough, or we need to have those county hall, town hall meetings where youth leaders now sit with the young people and, you know, extrapolate and explain how then do we get our agendas.
So a civic education should be actively getting involved.
Our young people need to be fully and actively engaged to understand the civic space that they engage in and how then their issues can be really escalated up. And in fact, sometimes the issues are a bit dire. You find that this government of Uhuru Kenyatta has actually tried when it comes to youth programs, youth empowerment, this, youth fund, youth this, youth this. Yes, you will hear a bit of corruption here and there. But the important thing to note is that a lot of young people don't even know how many programs are there currently. The availability of the programs that are there for them, so that they can begin to see where they can tap in. You know, such kind of information. Then how is it supposed to be reticulated down to the people? You know, when the president was coming to Ukambani, I was privileged to be in a small task force. We were engaging very closely with the president's unit to first analyze what are the programs that are happening in the whole of Ukambani region. And I was shocked when the youth minister brought a whole list of things that they are doing in Ukambani. And I was like, how come I don't know these things? Even me, I don't know that these things are happening. So then how are our citizens supposed to know these things are happening? And you know, we're asking the minister, then where is the disconnect? Because we need to know. That means the executive also has to find ways of working very closely with the members of parliament on some of these programs, so that then the members of parliament can notify or involve, you know, the young people. So there's a communication gap between the leadership and the youth, and we have to realize that this youth, this next gen, if we don't empower them correctly, it will be a very big problem in the future. They must be empowered correctly. So this civic education, this conversation must happen on a much larger scale, in my opinion, so that then they can engage politically and do their civic duty in the right manner and channel it in the right way, and then they are not abused with the wrong things.
Yes, Paul. The question is, are we just okay? We are just okay. Wake up in the morning. When you ask a youth, did you watch news? Me see watching news nowadays. Like, how do you get to know what's happening around you if you don't even watch a 15 minutes of a news bulletin to get updated on what's happening? And then you say, politicians ni mabaya, hiyo ni ya wazee, and then since we are just okay. Are we just okay with 50% or average? Just fine?
No, we are not.
Right.
A lot of what has been happening is stereotyping. There is a group of people who think that the youth are those people who show up at rallies, are paid 100 or 200 shillings. They go drink and cause chaos and run around. Now, that's just a small representation of that cadre. We have very sober young people who are well educated, who are trying to get education by themselves, who are contributing positively towards building the nation. So, number one, let's not generalize that the youth are this type of people alone. It's broad-based, and we have a lot of them doing very constructive things. Now, she's mentioned that we need to conduct civic education, and I think we need to go a notch higher and conduct political education as well. Because if we are to have leaders, then we need to get them to understand what it takes and how to go about it. Because a lot of young people, like she just mentioned, do not know the roles of their leaders. They will expect from a senator what an MCA is supposed to do, what a governor is supposed to do. But then the elephant in the room is that our politics is transactional. You have to make me support you. And in this case, that means you have to pay me so I can even imagine that you can be my leader. And therein lies the problem. There is a story that's making headlines at the moment about how much you need to have for you to run as a member of parliament or as an MCA. It starts from as much as 3.5 million
for an MCA
Kenya shillings. And Victor, even if you were to take a mortgage and pay it over the next 20 years, a mortgage of 3.5, you would need to have a stream of income that's not less than 70,000. Now, for someone who just completed tertiary education, that's a bit far-fetched. So as we conduct political education, let our goal be that we are looking to raise leaders who are about impacting the society in a purposeful way.
I think it's about the perception, because when you talk about the money exchanging hands, first of all, I'll come to what I say, nitakuja kwa ground, and you have a briefcase of money. First of all, I will come to that rally knowing very well that I'm going to go back home with 500 shillings or 200 shillings. So it starts with us.
Yes, it does start with us.
Right.
And it's the reality. It's not imagined. You will go with very lofty ideas, and if you do not have the training for it and a thick skin, you'll not get away without giving money. I'm talking out of experience, because I have been ruffled up before, and then I learned that what you need to do is to always be prepared. As a leader, when you're engaging anyone, especially the young people, let them find value in what you're delivering. So if you're not called to leadership, do not force yourself into that space. And those that are there, for instance, she has just mentioned that we have 8 youthful senators, and they're making headlines every day due to the caliber of leaders that they are. Let us all aspire to get to that level where even when you meet young people and they ask you, are you going to just leave us like that? You can ask them, are you sure the time you have spent here, you got nothing? Because if that's the case, then you most probably are not who I would like to support me. Which is how I've been approaching things. So political education needs to be taken a notch higher. And that aside, we need to address nepotism. And I'm glad we have a representative from Wiper here, because when the nominations came and names have been forwarded, when Wiper has a cross-cutting support, I remember a relative of the party leader was nominated to the East African Legislative Assembly. So if we clean house and mean business, if we are people of integrity and we live it, we will attract the right kind of leaders who will be focused on delivering results that will inspire leaders to emerge. Leaders who are looking to serve their societies and elevate them to a level where it's not just about my stomach today, but about entrenching a system that will take care of me and the next generation.
Absolutely. And Senator, the issue of affirmative action, the 2/3 gender rule, it comes to Parliament, it flops every particular reading. It has never seen light of day. And when you look at the representation even in Parliament, the male colleagues and all the counterparts in the National Assembly, both in the Senate and the National Assembly, surpasses that of the female counterparts. What's going to happen? What's this radical surgery that is going to happen to make women and ladies to go out there and fight it with men in this political space?
We need to empower the women a little bit more. And you know, there are many organizations now, I'm aware, who are really training women on how to, handle themselves and come out for active elective posts. And this is because whether BBI comes to be or not, it was very clear from the first BBI report that Kenyans no longer want nominated slots, affirmative action.
They want to go for it.
They want the women to go for it. They don't want to hear nominated women. They don't want to hear women rep. If you remember the first BBI report of the task force after it went round, it was clear that Kenyans are kind of demanding that women need to go at it. And so what happens is, to have that 2/3 then be achieved, then it has to be several fronts have to now come out. First, the political parties have to make sure their nomination lists include women. So from that basic level. And then secondly, we have to empower women so that they are not scared to run. And you know, the space, I mean, when you hear the stories of the first women in parliament and you compare to today, we've come a long way. You know, women are now, you know, finding their feet. And the electorate is finding them more acceptable. I mean, things are changing, times are different. And I think also because of the youthful population that we have, that space is, you know, beginning to widen. It's not what it was like before. So I think it's just a question of how political parties, a lot of it, by the way, will be borne by the political parties. Their goodwill to allow for women, to give them that space. It will be done by the political parties. And even under the BBI, actually, the beginning of the 2/3 was starting from how the party lists are presented, isn't it? And then there was a small formula, I think there was a formula in Parliament, National Assembly, how then should it still not be achieved from the election, then there is that balance that will have happened by picking a few who have participated in election to enter into the National Assembly. So without BBI, then there's a lot of mathematics has to be done, because you can be sure
to balance that equation.
to balance that, yes. Because you can be sure then the next Parliament will still default. Like the Justice Maraga had said, that we were sitting in Parliament illegally, considering we had deflated.
The President should dissolve Parliament.
Yeah, we should have been dissolved by now. So if we don't correct that at the next election, if BBI does not come through, then definitely it will have to be done in the first instance of taking oath of office. Parliament will have no choice but to regularize that. Otherwise, we'll end up just having another, you know, rat race. And those are some of the things for us who are proponents, you know, as a proponent of BBI, that we're hoping this. But I just want to comment something before you move on, because you did mention about my party leader nominating a relative into Yala. Of course, I have to make a comment on that.
And when
I have to make a comment on it.
Also, ODM, we remember their party list and who it included as well. So you
know, it's nepotism. It is about, you know, families also wanting to have a little bit of legacy. They want to train some people, but more importantly is also to appreciate that, you know, Wiper did a lot more. That's just one scenario, but there's a lot of other nominations that happened that were not nepotism, so to speak. You know, we have a nominated member, Serone, in the National Assembly, who is from Nakuru. You know, we have county assemblies where we have a lot of nominated Wiper members who are not also, you know, relatives, so to speak. So this particular case was really highlighted in a way to make my party leader not, you know, look dishonorable. But truly speaking, there's nothing truly dishonorable when such opportunities arise and somebody wants to, you know, have, you know, a relative. They're also trying to groom their children and things like that. So it is that kind of opportunity that should not necessarily be looked down upon.
Well, it's just curious that out of 15 million qualified and competent young people in Kenya, you land on someone who is your brother, or you land on someone who is your son. Out of that very wide
But why my
range?
party leader? There are so many others who are doing it. Why is it that somehow everybody just noticed what is Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka did? I don't hear what the Right Honorable Raila did, and his is quite significant, actually.
I just mentioned, I just say there are those who had their brothers, there are those who had their nephews, there are those who had their girlfriends, which is what complicates the case of the affirmative action she was talking about. So I'm glad we are talking about integrity.
Even as we come to your closing remark, I'm told that we are running out of time. This is a conversation that we can have on end.
It can never end.
It can never end. Just in 1 minute each, what do you think now moving forward, that something that can be done to just change that simple mindset of a youth, because we are heading towards an election and it's going to be one of the toughest and quite competitive election come 2022, and still you're going to run. We wish you all the best. How do you talk to those youth out there to make them have that change of mind and see politics differently? In 1 minute, if you please can.
Well, we have a constitution that allows us to build strong institutions. We have Chapter 6 that speaks to the kind of character that our leaders should have. Let us push for the full implementation of our constitution. And besides that, let us demand of our leaders that they allow for our institutions to function optimally. Let us build strong political parties. And I'm glad that right now political parties are awakening. They are talking about a fight against corruption. They're talking about integrity. There is the age about patriotism. If Kenya is to be great, our institutions must be greater than individuals and selfish interests. Let's build these institutions, because that way they will inspire confidence in young people. Young people will front themselves to serve in those institutions because they know that fairness and justice will be accorded to them. And that way we will attract the right crop of leaders and will make Kenya great.
We'll make Kenya great, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, Senator.
So, and you've put it very well. Thank you. Strong institutions are what make a country governable and for the future. And for me, I just want to say that the space for youth is there, and this is their moment. The young people, this is their moment. This is truly your moment. But you cannot be if you don't equip yourself with information. And the right information, not just any information. And if young people really want to rise to leadership, then they need to be informed. They have to take interest in what is happening around them. Right now, like in Wiper Party, we are starting our youth league. Elections are beginning to start from, and they're starting, from the ground upwards. We are beginning to roll that up, and we are encouraging them to come out, because we are looking for youthful leadership to run our party. And we really are looking for people who are at least informed, so that they can help inform other young people on their roles and duties in the civic space. So young people need to awaken as well. They really need to awaken to the situation that is around them, that this country is theirs. It's theirs to have. It's theirs to lose if they don't then rise to the occasion that is being called out for them. And I really want to encourage them to that extent.
And just one second, you sit in the ad hoc committee on COVID-19?
Oh, yes.
Are we okay? Are we safe?
First, the ad hoc committee was wound up. It's an ad hoc committee, so it had a lifetime. It ended in December, and we handed over to all the standing committees. We handed over the findings and the recommendations to the standing committees for them to move forward. And I was very privileged to serve in that committee. So right now I'm not alive to the facts of health. We left that to the Committee of Health.
All right, okay.
Yes.
Just a simple thing here.
Yes, in 20 seconds. My director says that mtafukuzwa kazi.
Okay. Now, to the young people of Kenya, you've seen what young and the youth have been able to do given the little space that they've had. Now, imagine if there were more of us. Imagine if we had a Kenya where I was president. Look at the kind of a cabinet and government would put up. Look at the energy, the passion, the enthusiasm, the integrity, and the vision that would be delivered. Believe in yourselves, because a time has come for you to make it incumbent upon yourself to make Kenya great.
Absolutely.
Kenya great again.
Senator, there's a question here.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to run for a political seat come 2022?
I was hoping for a different kind of a question. I thought we want to resolve, serious, political and whatever questions.
No. There's just a question here this is from Makueni.
It's from Makueni?
Yes.
Yeah, actually today I was just mentioning to the producer that my name is written that I'm from Machakos County.
Yes.
But I live in Machakos County, but I come from Makueni.
Yes.
I'm very interested in Makueni, and if I'm to run, I'll run in Makueni and not in Machakos. But I have not made the decision yet, but very soon I will make the decision. Yes.
Okay. Are you in touch with Senator of Machakos?
Yes, Senator Kavindu.
Yes.
I call her mom.
Yes.
Very much in touch.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
She's a wonderful lady. We love her very much in Parliament.
Yes.
Yes.
And Kavinga?
Sorry?
Kavinga?
Kavinga?
My former presidential candidate.
Right.
He's actually told me a lot of stuff about her.
Yes.
Her training is in architecture.
Yes, I'm an architect.
And besides that, she has a great passion for mental health.
Over 16 years of experience.
Yes. She's doing quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope she considers running because given the kind of work she's been doing, she would do Kenya a great service if she continues.
And is your boss coming to run again?
Well, he'll be here to announce that by himself. What I know is the Great Nationhood Party of Kenya has fronted me to look for people with whom we'll be running in 2022.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Super.
I think at this particular... Yes, you want to say something?
No, I was just appreciating him.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I think this is the right time to conclude this conversation. But it can never end. The issue of youth, you have to go out there. 2022, the field is open for all of you to go and take up those political seats if you can. Go out there and fight. Mostly the women. Go out there and fight for those positions. You'll gain more respect when you go out there and fight against men, and you become victorious. All right, I've been talking to Honorable Sylvia Kasanga, who is a Wiper, Democratic nominated senator, and of course Mr. and Honorable Carriera Paul Muthiore, who is former presidential running mate and party leader of TGN. All right, the question I have for you, and even you, when was the last time you did colon cleaning?
Never.
Never? Have you ever done colon cleaning?
You mean the cleansing of your digestive system?
Yes.
Yes. I do that once a year.
Now that is a topic coming up with the General Boy. It's an interesting how it's done. I have never done it. Probably you should even tell us how it was done. Probably just a precursor on what we should expect with General Boy.
No, it's about fasting a little bit and certain natural ingredients that you take.
Hold. All right, that is the next discussion we're having with General Boy after this break. Stick around.
Waomba wenzangu, kama vile mimi ufanya, weka pesa yako kwa panga account juu KDIC imekuhakikishia iko safe. Weka kitu kwa panga.
Be sure, check out for a KDIC sticker in your banking hall. KDIC, protecting your deposits.
This is where it all began. As the mother of broadcasting in Kenya, you can trust KBC to bring you authentic news and programs to your living room. As KBC, we take pride in our unrivaled heritage as Kenya's trusted national broadcaster. Commanding over 92% digital television signal coverage of our country, 23 radio services that cut across our entire language spectrum, a national, regional and international digital presence backed by the most experienced and top-notch broadcast professionals in the industry.
A very good evening to you.
The new look Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is truly ahead of the pack. Turn to the mother of broadcasting in Kenya for stories that resonate with our identity, our aspirations as a people united in purpose. Real stories of hard work, of passion, of creativity, of big dreams. Stories that cement our nationhood. Stories that bring us together as one. We take pride in our shared heritage and destiny. KBC, informing, educating and entertaining Kenyans as one nation. KBC, Kenya's listening, Kenya's watching.
Finish your writing exercise.
I'm doing it right now, aren't I?
Do you need more work?
No. I'll continue.
Take her away.
Yes.
Mother! Mother! Don't take away my mother! Mother!
Oh, what a liar. His Majesty comes to see her every day, yet she complains she's lonely. Whatever. Your time is almost up. Let's see if you have any tricks left.
Cancer Ching was poisoned by someone.
Poisoned?
月圆风般吹散沉香，香满青烟上。乍以为当归入药汤。
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo nunca.
Well, it looks good on me. And I deserve one for being the son of Manuel Olazabal. The bartender carried him out, so it won't be long until he dies.
Just stay alert. You can't fail. Kill him yourself if you have to. Everything is ready. I've made arrangements so when you get to Chiapas, you will find a gun in one of the lockers at the airport, okay? And as soon as I find out where it is exactly, I will let you know.
I came here to finish what I started more than 30 years ago. I was going to kill Florencia right here. But now, I'll just have to kill you.
You're insane! Put the gun away! It's over, Lucrecia. It's over!
I'm not done.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente.
I learned about colon hydrotherapy several years ago when I was studying in India. So I was having problems with my health. Most of it was hearing problem and digestion problem. So I got to know that colon hydrotherapy could help improve my health. So I visited colonics practitioner there who told me that not only was it going to improve my digestion, it was going to help improve my hearing as well. I was actually surprised that I could get help from just cleaning my stomach, that I could hear better. So out of that, I got interested. Then I started taking colonics, and actually my hearing started improving. It had gotten to a point where I was hardly hearing at all. But I tried various therapies for cleaning, for hearing, but nothing was helping me much. So with colon hydrotherapy, I realized that it started to hear better. So when I came back to Kenya, I also looked for a colon practitioner here, and that's when I met Beryl. And I continued with more cleansing, and my hearing continued to improve even more, to an extent that right now I'm almost able to hear very well. Although it's not 100% fully, but I hear quite well now. Actually, I would like to say the experience is very comfortable, because even like first time I took it, I was not sure how I was going to feel, because I thought it was going to be very uncomfortable, but it is very, very comfortable. Once the water starts getting in, you actually start to feel the water coming in, and you just like the way you normally feel like when you want to go to the toilet, that's just the same experience. So you feel like releasing, then the machine is automated. It just releases automatically. You don't have to like go to the toilet. It will release itself, but you'll feel that pressure the normal way you'd feel like if you want to go to the toilet, and then the therapist will just release it. Then on and on, you keep on feeling the water, and then they release it. But the process is basically very comfortable. For me, it feels very comfortable all through. And when the process is done, you start to feel light.
Colon hydrotherapy. Now, yesterday I asked a few people if they have ever interacted with this term, and the general answer that I got was, what in the first world problems are these that you are asking us? most people consider this colon hydrotherapy as a first world problem. What are these you're talking about? But it turns out to be something that all of us can benefit from. Well, to help you and I both understand what colon hydrotherapy is all about, we have with us in studio this morning Beryl Awinja Sakwa, who is a colon hydrotherapist. Good morning, Beryl.
Good morning, Jen. How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for making time to be with us.
Yes, thank you also for welcoming me.
Absolutely. Now, first of all, I have someone who already sent me a message asking, what do colon hydrotherapists study in school? Like, what course did you take?
First and foremost, to be a colon hydrotherapist, there are so many things you have to achieve for you to qualify as one.
It's a field of specialization?
Yes, it falls under alternative medicine. So in alternative medicine, you need to understand different diseases and sicknesses or illnesses people face.
Yes.
Lifestyle conditions, and how to help deal with them or heal them using also alternative medicine, which is like now using water as we use in colon hydrotherapy, or advising on herbal therapies that can be able to help get rid of some of the things that we deal with on daily basis.
Okay.
If you talk about like constipation, what can I do to a constipated person? If they are seeing a colon hydrotherapist like me, they need to first come and cleanse the system, so that we remove the impacted fecal waste in the system.
Okay.
And then we also, after that, advise them on what herbal therapies they can do to get rid of such things.
All right. Now, let's take a step back and start with the basics. When you talk about colon hydrotherapy, in very simple terms, what are we covering, or what do we mean?
Colon hydrotherapy is basically infusing warm filtered water into the colon. And what is the colon? Many people would not even know that the colon is the large intestine.
The large intestine.
So we are infusing water into the large intestines practically to help soften and then break loose that impacted colon that could be stuck together and causing us problems of poor bowel function. So by so doing, infusing water and then flushing it out, infusing, allowing it to soften, massaging, and then flushing it out helps to cleanse the colon. So that is basically colon hydrotherapy. And how is it introduced?
Yeah, maybe you could give us that a bit of history into it, because you know, just going through the interwebs, it goes way back. And it's surprising that most people do not even know that such a therapy exists. Give us a condensed history of colon hydrotherapy.
Colon hydrotherapy goes back to almost 1500 BCs. And during those times, it was only done by those people who are wealthy. And they would go when they are going to their saunas or they are going to their steam baths. That's when they will do their colon hydrotherapy. They believed that doing colon hydrotherapy helped them be able to think more clearly and have clarity in whatever they want to do. And also, just as you clean the outside, they also cleanse the inside, so that they feel more energetic, more rejuvenated, more improved in their health and so forth. That's why the high-class people used to do it. And apparently that has also gone back to this era. And even in 1920, when other doctors were now learning more about it and applying it in some medical facilities, we still find that from 1922, right now, 2021, we still have even some doctors who are not practicing it or using it because they don't believe mostly in it. They just believe in alternative medicine might not do so much
or be as effective
as when they're using medicine.
Ah.
But Currently now you find that at least the popularity, in as much as people here in Kenya are saying they don't know about it, it was hard for us when we started, me in particular, when I started in 2007, than it is right now. At least right now we have people who are more aware of it, and they will call in and book for an appointment.
All right. Speaking of the Kenyan space, that is where I want us to continue with this discussion. But before we get to do that, I welcome your questions, comments, clarifications. Again, as I always say, grand, complex, simple, we welcome them using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya. Stay with us, but we'll be right back.
Yo, mambo vipi watu wangu popote pale mlipo, nasema asanteni sana jamaa kwa kujiunga na mimi kila wakati kupitia kipindi Top Mashariki kupitia Channel 1, au sio? Nambari 1 mtu wangu nchini Kenya, KBC. Kama vipi mtu wangu, nasema asanteni sana jamaa. Kumbukeni kwamba Top Mashariki kuanzia hii wiki, yani this coming week mazee, itakuwa inakujia kila siku ya Jumanne saa 4 usiku. Yani katika mpango mzima ni Jumanne kuanzia saa 4 usiku. Top.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies.
I love the smell.
Comedy.
I went to the Popos.
Drama.
Will he assault the Queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. We are glad you are still keeping us company here on Good Morning Kenya. And just to continue with our second health item for today, this is all about colon hydrotherapy, also known as the large intestine cleansing. Basic language to help you understand this conversation and to help us understand the medical backing behind it. We have with us in studio Beryl Awinja Sakwa, who is a colon hydrotherapist. Now, getting back to where we were and just looking at the Kenyan space, we want to go to the basics.
Yes.
So let us start by going back to high school biology and understanding how the digestive system works up until we end up at the colon.
First and foremost, all of us need to understand that the moment we put something into our mouth, that's when now the process of digestive system starts. By the fact that we eat so much food in a day, and some of us forget that when we are eating that food is going to affect our overall health, probably by the way we are chewing very fast or swallowing the food without putting into consideration that my not chewing food thoroughly well is going to affect the whole process of digestion and how it's going to land finally into the colon, and the impact it will have if it stays in the colon longer than it should, and cause us to suffer more illnesses and problems. So I'd advise that when we are starting to eat our food, first we must chew it thoroughly, and we are chewing, we take time so that it can be able to allow the digestive enzymes in the system also to work on the food that we have put in our mouth to be well digested, so that by the time it leaves the small intestines and is sent to the cecum, or the starting point where the ascending colon is, or the colon is, it has been well chewed, and the small intestines have been able to absorb what it should be able to absorb from that.
So chewing is the first step in the digestive process.
Yes.
Chew your food properly.
Yes.
Hata kama mchele tunamezanga bila kutafuna.
We need
guilty
to
as
chew.
charged.
Yes, we need to chew, because even rice takes more days to be able to be digested than some normal foods or vegetables.
Oh, wow.
So we need to chew it and not just swallow it. So if we don't chew our food well during this whole process, then we are going to lose nutrients, or the waters that we need to absorb in the colon.
Yes.
Or the B7 or the the vitamin B or the vitamin K that we need to get from the foods that we have chewed. And they are also going to serve different good purposes to our overall health.
Okay.
So once we have chewed our food well, and it is well digested, then now we'll not have problems that arise from the colon. What are these problems that are arising from the colon that is impacted or has poor bowel function? We are going to suffer from things like the constipation, indigestions. Some people will have even headaches, insomnia, they'll not sleep very well. You'll not have energy that you need. When you're waking up, you feel like you're tired. And you will have also some infections and diseases that arise just because one person or Beryl as a person did not consider what is going to happen when I put my food in my mouth and the digestion process starts.
Okay. Now, looking at an average person, before we even get to understand the procedure in itself, which is what is running on your screens, you will be taking us through that in a bit, but looking at an average human being, how many times in a day or in a span of 24 hours are we normally supposed to go for a number 2 TV-friendly language, or rather long calls?
Yes. Anytime we eat our food, it should trigger some bowel movement, or it should cause us to go for a long call. But in many cases, some people even take a week or a week plus before they go.
Yes.
Some people will go once in alternative days, and some people will go 3 times in a day. Now people will ask, so which one is the right one? But in a week, if you are not able to have your bowel movement more than 3 or 4 times in a week, and a proper one, not just small tiny movements, then you are going to have a problem. But it's standard that we all must have some bowel movement after we eat some food, because every given time there is more than 3 sittings of waste in our system after 3 sittings of waste of equal amounts of food that we have eaten in our system or in our colon. So we need to keep on flushing it. When we eat new fresh food, then the old putrid waste in our system or in the colon should be
pushed out.
Yes, flushed out.
All right.
And that can only be flushed out if we are taking care of our colon by eating the right nutrient and the right diet. We have a right diet that we are taking. We have a combination of enough water that we are drinking in a day. We are not eating under stressful moments or stressful habits and environments, as you put it, because if you start eating when you're stressed, then even your digestion will be affected. If you eat and you don't drink enough water, then also your food that you're taking is going to be also affected in one way or the other. So we need to ensure that when we are taking care of ourselves and our eating, and we need to have a good optimum health, we need to consider all these facts.
All right.
Yes.
Now let's get to the hydrotherapy process in itself. Just before somebody goes through this process, what do they need to prepare themselves physically? How do you need to prepare for hydrotherapy session?
For you to prepare for hydrotherapy session 1 is just to come in a relaxed state, number 1. And then we also say hours before your therapy, which is just going to infuse water in and flushing out, we advise you don't eat heavy. Because when you
approximately how many hours?
At least a minimum of 2 hours. You shouldn't eat heavy. If you drink more liquids or drink more water, it is more beneficial for that treatment.
It's encouraged.
Yes, than eating heavy food, because the moment we start infusing water in, you will feel uncomfortable. So you don't eat so much before the treatment, and just come relaxed. And you don't need to come worrying that you're going to be put under some operation. It's just you lying on the table and us chatting and seeing what is going out of your system. So it's basically not something that someone should sit and start saying that I need to prepare, I might go there, die, and
I
not
need to
be
get
seen
some
again.
counseling before and after.
It's just as simple. It's just you going for your bowel movement. It's only that I'm helping you to elongate it in a period of time, in a longer period of time.
All right. Now, the process in itself, how does it happen? As we are chatting, as you rightfully put it, how does it happen, or what can one expect when they have gone for this particular therapy? And maybe my director, you can also help us with the pictorial and the video footage to assist in this conversation.
Yes. Normally, someone just comes in, we change you into comfortable attire or wear, and then you lie on the table, which is the bed. Normally we'll call it a table, but it's the bed. And then when you're lying on the table, you could be on the side or lying on your back. So we are just massaging your stomach, infusing water in, and then pumping it out, and you are chatting. Some people will be chatting, some people will be sleeping, some people will just be looking with me at what is coming out, and then we are reading into what, as I read the waste or the gas or the state of the matter that is coming out from you, I can be able to advise you.
And so, from what we can see on the screen, you've mentioned you massage the stomach area.
Yes.
How does that assist in the entire process?
Massaging the stomach area helps to loosen and break some of the compacted waste, and also helps to push, because we are walking literally along the colon as we massage the stomach, so that we can loosen, mix the water that has been there, so that we allow it to soak what is there and then flush it out eventually.
All right. Now, are there people that are restricted from getting this kind of procedure done? Are there any predisposing or contraindications that a certain group of people cannot undergo this particular therapy?
Yes. In as much as we have so many benefits of colon hydrotherapy, helping with like we've mentioned, indigestion, constipation, high blood pressure control, arthritis, lower back problems, insomnia, and other related infections or lifestyle illnesses, there are also contraindications of colon hydrotherapy. If you're suffering from cirrhosis, severe liver problems, you cannot do colon hydrotherapy. If you are 1 to 3 months pregnant, for ladies, you cannot do colon hydrotherapy, because at that period of time the baby is forming. If you are just coming from recent surgery, let's say it's 6 months, and you had some stitches and so forth, we need them to heal before you do colon hydrotherapy. If you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, we can do that. Fissures and fistula for ladies, we can do that. Severe hemorrhoids, that means maybe they can be internal and inflamed, we can be able to do colon hydrotherapy. And if you are epileptic, we don't know when it will strike. So we try not to do colon hydrotherapy, among a few other things that are contraindicated.
Now, when it comes to the procedure in itself, that's on your screen, that's just an image of how the whole large intestine presents itself. And looking at what we are seeing on the screens, I heard you mention impacted colon.
Yes.
Help us better understand what that means in line with what we are seeing on our screens. We can see products coming out from then passing through that tube over there.
Yes.
So when you talk about an impacted colon, what exactly are you referring to?
Impacted colon means that the colon that is full. And why is it full? It's full because you are not able to flush out the way you should normally. It means maybe you're going and flushing a bit, but even when you're done going, you still feel that something was supposed to come out, but it didn't. So it's retained in there. And then you add food, and then it sticks in the colon longer and more, just keep on piling up until they can fill up the colon. So that is why now we have those conditions I've listed that can be affected with an impacted colon. So the process of now trying to break and flush out that impacted colon or the full colon is now the process of us introducing water step by step with the controlled pressure, so that the water comes in, and it normally just seeps in. You can't feel it. It's not like when you open a tap and you feel like it's pouring on you. No. It just seeps in, and then you feel like the urge of going, but we keep on releasing, because with the machine or the instrument, I am the one controlling the filling of the water and flushing in out of the water, because when you feel a little bit of pressure, like you really want to go, that means something wants to come out. So we just bring in water. When you feel that, we flush out. And even before some people feel, I'll feel it because of being used to it, and I can be able to feel what someone is feeling even before they say they want to go.
Oh wow.
Yes, and I can be able to feel if it's loosening or it's hard, and I need more time to deal with it.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, are there risks that have been known to be associated with this particular therapy?
There will be risks if I don't put into consideration contraindications. Like, let's say someone is just coming out of surgery and then I put them under colon hydrotherapy. It will be really like endangering that person's life and being unprofessional. But in such cases, for us to avoid the risks, we do a thorough consultation. So we need to know your diet and lifestyle, and then we need to know your health and any medication you are on, and then we need also to feel us and tell us if you have any contraindications or not, so that we advise at that point. There are people who come in and then we stop the session at the consultation level. We tell you, we are sorry, we are not able to offer you this, but we can advise and give advice over some therapies they can do. If it's herbal therapy, you can try, or refer you to a doctor that we are able to connect you with in regard to what you're feeling.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, once somebody has gone through this particular therapy, what are the immediate and gradual expectations that they can feel or expect post-therapy?
We see people coming there, and especially with a lot of, they haven't been going and they are so tired. Some of them are sick and on medication, and they can't even think straight, and they are worried and fearful and stuff like that. But what is so funny with colon hydrotherapy, immediately we flush out. And even when you're still on the table lying there, you start feeling some changes. If you're feeling like you're too bloated or flatulence or constipated, or even lower back problems, because most of the waste is pressing on your lower spine, then you start even feeling the relief even before the session is done. So, and when you are done and you go to sit also on the toilet and you're coming back, you will feel like you are a new person. As they say, we have so many testimonials, and you'll see that someone says, I feel light. Someone says, I feel more energetic. I have lost some inches. You see, I am feeling happy because I came to do this. Now I am like, even my headaches that I was feeling, I can see some relief in it. Those are immediate changes that people see. If there are people who are suffering from infections, H. pylori, and you're suffering from you're diabetic and sugars are not balancing very well, and you're suffering from infections when you come for ladies and stuff like that, within a period of a week you'll see a lot of adjustment and improvement on those sicknesses and illnesses you're facing.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, could you, or from what you have seen interacting with the various patients who come for this particular therapy, is there a relationship between pot bellies and an impacted colon?
There is a relationship between our pot bellies, or even just what we appear to be looking like when we are dressing up, or you're tying you're putting on your belt and stuff like that. It's believed that we carry in between, or we walk with in between 3 kgs to 13 kgs of waste
in our
body,
and mostly the large intestine.
Yes, so it's just sitting there in the colon. And that affects so much of how we are going to burn the fats, because even we are not able to assimilate the right nutrients because of the putrid waste that is poisoning the bloodstream and other organs of the body. So we are not able to burn the fats. So in as much as we could be fatty, we also have a lot of waste in
our body.
So cleansing the colon will help us to be able to assimilate the right nutrients so that we can be able to burn the fats, and as well flush out so much of that junk of waste that is sitting in there, and will cause us to at least lose some inches. And if we are going for a gym, we are going to the gym to do some exercises to lose weight, or we are taking detox juices so that we can cut weight and lose weight, or we are taking juices so that we have some good breath, or not sweating and it's smelly, or going to the toilet and it's stinking, then when we do this, it is able to help us.
All right. Now, due to the interest of time, maybe I could just ask rapid fire question. Number one, is the therapy painful?
No, it's not painful. Colon hydrotherapy is not painful. It's just like for you going for your bowel movement.
Okay.
The way you feel, in some cases, people might feel the way you feel when you have a diarrhea session. When the way you feel when you're having diarrhea. So that is how maybe bad it can be for some people. But in other cases, mostly it's just something that people just sit, lie on the table, and they are relaxed as you do this session. And when you get out of there, trust me, you have done colon hydrotherapy 1 to prevent infections. You don't have to be necessarily sick to come for colon hydrotherapy. You can come for colon hydrotherapy to cleanse your system, to be in optimum health, and to look more younger and rejuvenated. So you are just cleansing. And 2, you could be cleansing it to take care of the illnesses or lifestyle conditions that are affecting you.
All right.
Yes.
Now, number 2, how often can one have it done?
Depends with the situation or the case that is coming in. There are people like you might just come, you want a cleansing to just for optimum health and to get rid of infections or prevent infections in future. But we have cases where someone is on heavy medication and they are not able to go. They are so constipated, they take days and weeks before they go. So this person might not do it once. Because of that, they might do it severally. And then there are those cases who are young people. They are small and 8 years to about 13 years. They could also just do it once and then they...
All right. Finally, what are the financial responsibilities involved in one session that we need to prepare for, very briefly?
Yes. The financial implications in Kenya, most people think we are very expensive because we charge per treatment or session 9,000 shillings. And for a common mwananchi, it's not, they are not able to afford, which is understandable. And that is why no wonder not many people are aware of colon hydrotherapy. Because you only get to get the... Let's say if you're classing people from class A, B, and C, you will only get mostly clients from class A and B. So it's unfortunate. I wish there was something we can do. But because importing those speculums, which are disposable, that we use for each insertion, are expensive. One of them just comes for 3,000 shillings when you are importing it. So it makes the whole cost expensive.
Now, we will be sure to have another session for this particular conversation. But for now, we have to put a cap at that particular point. point. This has been all about colon hydrotherapy. It is something that all of us as a people can benefit from. But then again, we are here to help you get the information that you need before you decide to venture into such. We have been speaking with Beryl Awinja Sakwa, who is a colon hydrotherapist. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Thank you for hosting me. I really, truly appreciate it.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
Now, with that, we want to wrap up today's program. Thank you so much for being part of Good Morning Kenya. We want to wish you a lovely day. God bless. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. I am Jane Wambui.
Kupata Zaburi 18 mstari wa pili, dial *811 *817 hash. Mwenyezi Mungu ni mwamba wangu, ngome yangu na mkombozi wangu. Mungu wangu, mwamba wangu ninayemkimbilia ninapohitaji kuwa salama. Zaburi 18 mstari wa pili. Zaburi 18 mstari wa pili, dial *811 *817 hash. *811 *817 hash.
Ala! Nissan Serena ndio hii. Na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS. Alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bidi yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bidi yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bidi ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Ananipenda, yes. Ananispoil, yes. Ananifanyia kila kitu, yes. Everything, yes, yes, yes. Can we now deal with the problem, Kate?
Huzuni kuniondokea mimi ni urongo. He is my son, Kate.
Lakini amekunywa dawa zake.
Hajapewa dawa.
Hajapewa dawa? Sasa atapona vipi?
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo nunca.
Well, it looks good on me. And I deserve one for being the son of Manuel Olazabaha. The bartender carried him out, so it won't be long until he dies.
Just stay alert. You can't fail. Kill him yourself if you have to. Everything is ready. I've made arrangements so when you get to Chiapas, you will find a gun in one of the lockers at the airport, okay? And as soon as I find out where it is exactly, I will let you know.
I came here to finish what I started more than 30 years ago. I was going to kill Florencia right here. But now, I'll just have to kill you.
You're insane! Put the gun away! It's over, Lucrecia. It's over!
I'm not done.
De una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente.
These are the humble beginnings he grew up in, as depicted in the form of art. And these are the hands, the gifts of God Almighty that enable him acquire skill that he's putting into use after he hung up his boxing gloves.
Yangu inaweza sema nika gift kutoka kwa God, cause kuna time fulani nilisema, niliangalia mkono mzama nikasema kuna struggle tulikuwa na go through hiyo time, nikasema hizi mkono ndio zitakuja tutoa getu. So hiyo kuitaja ni kama nilikuwa na bless mkono kwa sababu pia kwa watu niko sawa, tuseme kwa furniture pia niko sawa, na saa zaidi kitu yenye iliniweka kwa limelight ni boxing. In 2004 nakumbuka kuna time kulo kumuungua gate yote ilimuungua, of which in 20 nafikiria kuifanya. Saa hiyo time when kulo kumuungua, the following day ndio nilikuwa nafanywa selection ya kwenda Qatar. So zile vitu kidogo mother alisave, akaenda kaziweka kwa nyumba yetu. So sikuwa nimelala, nilikuwa mchafu, lakini hivyo tu nikiwa mchafu ndio nikaenda hiyo selection, na hivyo ndio nilichaguliwa nikaenda Qatar.
We caught up with Olympian Benson Gisharo in South Beach Shopping Center, Nairobi, doing what it does best today.
Mimi nimetoka Mkuru, huku Kayaba, na slum ziko tu hapa karibu kuna Marigoene, na kuna Fatanya, huko ndio nimegrow na huko ndio nimelelea. So boxing now nilianza 98, hiyo ilikuwa ni kwa dawa. Buda kukufa